So you say you don't like Julio Rivera? Don't agree with his politics?
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Well, maybe you're just a racist.
Think about it.
You're listening to Conserva Rican and Friends
Kathy Barnette
on WAAR Radio.
Adjunct professor of finance and a founder of Truth Exchange, a ministry that engages minds to think critically and seriously.
It's time for the truth. The truth will set you free. Kathy B, Truth Exchange, you ready? It's time for the truth. The truth will set you free. Kathy B, Truth Exchange, you ready? It's time for the truth.
This is Julio Rivera live from CPAC on March 4th, Friday. Continuing coverage of CPAC 2016 on www.weareamericaradio.com. I'll be joined shortly by Kathy Barnette of the Truth Exchange, and we'll be with you for the next 2 hours. Starting out the show today, we have Patrice Lee from Generation Opportunity. She's here to discuss millennials, which are very important. Obviously, they are the future of our country. And it says here, let me see here, just looking at this, you have this 2016 State of the Millennial Report. I take it that there's nothing in here about Bernie Sanders.
There isn't.
Okay.
This takes a much more holistic view of what millennials are facing right now. Now, not surprisingly, young people are generated or excited about the idea of government being rigged against them and wanting to fight back against that. And it's true. I mean, the system is rigged against us. When you look at Obamacare, it's based on us paying more for older, sicker Americans.
Exactly.
When you look at the national debt, we're the ones who are going to bear that burden over the decades to come. When you look at job growth, we are not seeing that, even though jobs have come back. And today's the jobs numbers are out. The BLS monthly jobs report should be coming out in the next half hour. But millennial youth unemployment is still in double digits, twice the national average.
Well, let me ask you, regarding those Bureau of Labor statistic numbers, I mean, I think as far as the way that it's being reported, it's not necessarily accurate. Like, as far as the U6 versus the U3 number, there's so many people that are underemployed. They're not taking into account people who have kind of gotten disillusioned with the job market and fell out. I think that's of particular danger to your generation,
Absolutely.
Especially with the responsibilities that you guys bear going forward.
Absolutely. So we put out our own jobs report every month at Generation Opportunity. We report the U6 number because that gives a much more holistic picture. We also report the number of millennials who've dropped out of the job market. It's consistently been over 1.8 million young people who've given up looking for work. And then young people of color, Hispanics, and African Americans, it's like 15 to 20%.
Wow.
So, what we need to figure out is why aren't millennials getting jobs? We are the most educated generation, so it doesn't really have to do with a lack of education. It has to do with the fact that our economy is not generating the types of jobs that a young person can find. We've been competing with older Americans who were unemployed during the recession and were able to get the jobs before we did. So what I think we need to look for is actual solutions. Whomever is running for office, they need to come to us with solutions that are going to grow the economy. Let's look at the tax code. Lowering taxes is a great idea for job growth. Let's look at regulations. Why is it that a company can't hire someone? Well, probably because their salaries are so high. Probably because of things like Obamacare that increase the cost of workers. Let's look at even occupational licensing, which is literally just the government's permission slip for us to work.
Exactly.
And those are things that even people who don't have a college degree are looking for, but they're locked out of those opportunities.
Yeah, I think that, over-regulation as far as, different industries have different requirements to make it harder for small to mid-sized businesses to grow, to create those jobs, because that's really the backbone of job creators is small to mid-sized businesses. You said something interesting earlier regarding we're the most educated generation, which is very true, but how do you think we have the most practical education? Because it seems like a lot of the things that people go to college to study don't really translate into actual, greenbacks. I mean, it's hard to get money for all these, weird human studies, things that people are saying. Like, we don't have enough Americans that actually know how to do things with their hands and actually do things that are productive for society. What's your take on that?
Well, absolutely. I think college is flooded with people, and there's nothing wrong with a college degree. However, it's not the only way to success or even the middle class in this country. That's the lie we've been told, though. Go to college, get a 4-year degree, come out, get a good job, and you can repay your loans. Well, it turns out you can't find a job. You have high student loan debt, like $1.2 trillion, which is like $35,000 per student every year.
Wow.
And you're not able to repay that. What we do need to look at is at the high school level. What is the best track or path for you? Maybe it's a 4-year degree. Maybe it's vocational training. And let's take the stigma off of vocations. Maybe it's online training. Maybe it's you want to become a coder, go to coding school. And you can come out, you can find a job get some training, but find a job relatively quickly, paying you a whole lot more than those with a philosophy degree.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing. If you look at things like they publish this information as far as what fields, what industries are going to be in demand in the future. So kids should be able to, if they take a practical approach, find an industry that they can be successful in. So because think about it, when you go to college, it's not just I'm going to college for the experience. You're making an investment in your earning potential for the future. So if you don't actually take something that you can actually, turn into something profitable, what are you going to do with yourself? You're just going to wind up in a massive amount of debt. And that's the scary thing. And I think that's probably why a lot of the younger people have been gravitating towards the Democrat Party, gravitating towards pretty much, socialistic policies that, are getting pushed on them by the left, and the idea of the free college, of the free this, of the free that, but they don't, without seeing the actual cost of anything.
Well, yeah, it sounds nice when somebody's going to say they're going to pay for your education, but somebody's going to bear the cost of that, and it's going to be us through taxes. It's going to be us through a higher national debt over the course of the next 3 to 4, probably 5 decades to come. So while it sounds nice, I think young people are much smarter than that. There have been a lot of recent studies about socialism, and millennials think that they're socialist, but when you actually ask them what the difference between socialism is, or what is socialism, they can't even pinpoint it. What I think young people want is they want to see equality of opportunity, but it's being pitched to them as equality of outcomes. So, everybody should have a certain standard of living. Everybody should be getting this, and it's not fair that some people have more and some people have less. But it's actually the free market that does a great job in equalizing. That gives that I'm an immigrant. And my family moved to this country for opportunity and for freedom. And it's because of that that I can become as much or as little as I want, frankly. But what socialist policies do is it just redistributes the pain. It redistributes the cost, and it redistributes the lower quality of living for everybody. And I think when you start to think through that, I love to say when you get your first bonus at the office and you've worked so hard, you get your $3,000 raise or bonus, and then all of a sudden you see how much Uncle Sam has eaten from your check. Oh, redistribution doesn't sound so good after all. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. And it's funny because everybody, when they're young, they have that approach where they feel like this is the right thing. But you get out of, you leave the Democrat Party and you leave that liberal stuff behind once you actually see that W-2 at the end of the year and you've realized how much money you've given towards the government. It's funny the mentality that people have, because now we're getting close to tax season and, we're in tax season and people are, filing their taxes, and people get so excited when they get money back, not realizing that they gave the government an interest-free loan. It's I'd like the government to give me an interest-free loan. It's like the Import-Export Bank or something like that. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you're talking about cronyism. I love that you brought up the Import-Export Bank, because there are lots of examples of cronyism. And when we talk to young people, so as a national grassroots organization, Generation Opportunity, we're talking to young people every day, off and on college campuses. And we like to explain it. Take the mystery out of this, big government versus big business, or big business being bad, and saying it's really just established interest or companies securing protections through government. They don't want new competition. And a great example, on your smartphone, if you use Uber, if you stay at an Airbnb, this is just the marketplace using technology to respond to a need, right? That's fantastic. But the taxi cab commissions across the country don't like the new competition. It's eating away at their market advantage. And so they go to their local legislator or whatever level of government to say, hey, we need to make sure this new business is kept out. And they get policies instituted. It's not working anymore. And we're seeing huge backlash against against the taxi cab industries because we want technology to provide the best service and good for us. And I love it in here in DC where the taxis are snarling traffic with their protests because they hate Uber. We hate them even more as a result of that. So let's, instead of having more government, let's reduce the amount of government and allow everybody to compete freely. The taxi cab industries will have to get their act together and compete, and if they do, that's fantastic. But at the end of the day, we as consumers, as millennials, we want the best at the best price because we don't have a lot of discretionary income.
Yeah, that speaks to what you had mentioned earlier as far as what we could do to stimulate that job creation, and it winds up becoming, we need to get taxes lower and we need to deregulate and just let the private sector come up with the best, cheapest solutions that people actually want, and that's going to drive the economy.
Yeah, just kind of chiming in. This is Kathy Barnette. Just security at the CPAC is no joke, but I appreciate it.
I'm glad they checked you. Did they frisk you? Is that what took a long time?
No, but they did wand me a couple of times. Then I went away. Then I came back. I'm like, let me wand you one more time. Wait a minute, really? Do I look like a security threat? But nonetheless, just kind of chiming in on the end of this conversation. It was interesting that you mentioned taxi cabs because I just watched a documentary about New York City where the legislation has instituted gold medal decals. So certain and those particular decals cost an exorbitant amount of money, which then excludes all of the individual businesses and kind of keep it into this elite group of people. I think Washington D.C. also has that gold medallion, and it really was about cronyism. Just it's all about who you know, and then them you paying enough, doing enough favors in order for legislators to enact laws that benefit a few and not the many, which is i.e. socialism.
Exactly. And this is providing us a great example to talk to young people, to really help them understand what socialism means. I mean, a lot of them, they don't think Cold War. We're a generation removed from that. But now when they see, it's actually just cronyism, it's just someone else rigging the system against me and in the favor of someone else, then they get it. So at Generation Opportunity, we get young people involved in the political process. We are out there at city council meetings protesting, bad regulation so that can be scaled back and we can institute good regulation. So you can find us if you have more information at generationopportunity.org.
Thank you so much, Patrice, for coming.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yes.
Have a great time at CPAC.
Thank you so much. This was very enlightening. And that was Patrice Lee from Generation Opportunity. You can find them at generationopportunity.org. And coming in right now, we have Dr. Kelly Ward.
Yes, I had the opportunity of coming to your private room conference setting last night just to hear you speak, because if anyone starts talking about running against John McCain, I'm like, okay, already you're on my good side. Thank you. So thank you so much for making time out to come here. So Dr. Kelly Wood is a doctor, obviously, but you went down this long list of things that you are.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, yes, I am Dr. Kelly Ward. I am a military wife. I am the mom of 3 awesome kids. I'm a family doctor, and I am a former Arizona State Senator who happens to be running against John McCain in the GOP primary in Arizona this year.
Yeah. Now, how is that going?
It's going amazingly well.
Are people loving that? I mean, are you getting good feedback? Because let me tell you, when I took your picture, and I asked you a question when we were there last night, and I posted it on Periscope, and it went through Twitter. I got so many comments from that, from people from Arizona saying Kelly Ward loves veterans and we love her.
Awesome.
Kind of thing. Yeah, so I mean, but a tremendous amount. I mean, I've been posting ever since I came to CPAC, but I got a tremendous amount of feedback from you on my Twitter profile when I posted that and posted your comment as well.
Very nice. Yeah, we have got such momentum. It's amazing. I mean, even here at CPAC, it's so funny because I'll tell people that I'm running against John McCain, and I'll get spontaneous hugs. I will get people who just get a huge smile on their face.
We're done with it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, even people who love John McCain, and I have all the respect in the world for Senator McCain and his service to our country, but it's time for a change. They understand that as well. He's been in Washington for over 3 decades.
And what did you say? Like, he came into Congress when we didn't have email.
Fax. We didn't have email. We didn't have I mean, barely had coffee machines.
I think they were
you
using
know.
2 cups on a string
Yes,
back in
that's
those
right.
days. No, I actually had a chance to look up your legislative record there in the
Good.
State House, and it's very impressive. You are very conservative.
Yes.
So I can see the Tea Party or the grassroots conservatives gravitating towards you, and because it is a highly contested, race right now. There's actually 3 people, I believe. There's Alex Malusky, yourself, and Senator McCain. What are you feeling like right now? What is the general sentiment as far as with the voters on the ground in Arizona?
Well, unfortunately for Alex, I mean, he can't generate any support. He polls at under 1%, hasn't been able to raise money, hasn't been able to create the organization like we have. People are just so excited to have a well-educated, well-spoken, down-to-earth, Constitution-loving woman on the ticket against John
with
McCain.
a track record of
Yes.
being conservative. Because it's
Exactly
one
right.
thing to say you're conservative, and then something completely different to actually be conservative and to espouse conservative principles.
Yes. When the rubber hits the road, you can look at my record, and I thank you for looking at it.
Yes.
The ACU has
That's
rated.
what we do at War Radio.
Yes,
love
we
it.
actually vet the candidates
We actually
for
fact
the listener.
check.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. And it's funny because you know how now when you're on Facebook you get your memories from 6 years ago or 4 years ago or 8 years ago, and it's funny because I see things from before I was in politics that I used to post that I was passionate about that I'm still posting now, and so I don't think that being in the political arena has changed me. It has made me stronger in my resolve to continue to fight for conservative principles, and so it's I don't know, it's fun and it's great. But the ACU here for CPAC, they rated some of the state legislators or legislatures, and Arizona was one of the first that they did. And over the time that I've been in the legislature, I have a 98% ACU rating, which is the best in Arizona.
Yeah.
And in comparison, John McCain has a 73.
73. Well,
73.
I'm surprised even at 73.
Yeah, I don't think. I
But
think
now-
I'm pretty sure that's a little lower than that.
Yeah, exactly.
based on
So,
what
Well, Conservative Review has him at an F.
Alex
Okay,
is
so-
polling at 1%. What are you polling at?
In the 20s. In the 20s.
Okay,
yes.
yeah.
And John McCain also is in the 20s in the polls that we've done. So he's a little higher, than I am. I'm about 22, 23. He's about 25, 26, with a lot of undecided Republican voters. And so it's great. The battle is mine to win.
Yeah, good. Now, I had the opportunity to step into one of the CPAC conferences yesterday where we had a couple of senators that were up there talking, and they were talking about how one particular senator, and if I can get his name, if I can recall his name, I'll tell you, but he said in his office, he has 2 stacks of files of laws. He has the laws that have been enacted by Congress, and then he has another set of laws that have been enacted by agencies, unelected officials. And he
Yes.
said that is in the stack of files enacted and imposed upon the American people with absolutely no regard for accountability. They are about 3 times higher than the stack of laws enacted by Congress. Now, when our founders set up the Constitution, it was very specific in saying that Congress is the one that has the responsibility and the duty to enact laws.
Yes.
However, our country has just completely moved to the far left. And so anyway, I thought that was interesting that one, our Congress would allow, a Congress that at this particular time is controlled by Republicans, would allow a 3-to-1 ratio between those particular laws that are being imposed upon American people by unelected people, unaccountable people. How our Congress has allowed their power to be taken away from them.
Yes.
You see Obama, he told us out of the horse's mouth, I have a phone and a pen, I do what I want to
That's
do.
right.
Mm-hmm.
What will you do when you get there? I mean, are you concerned about that? Have you
I-
thought about that?
Yes, I am.
What's the
certainly
strategy?
am. Well, I'm happy to see Mike Lee starting, because Mike Lee I know is starting this Article 1 project, and he's got a small group right now, and I hope that when I'm there, he's going to allow me to join as well, because it is to take back the power, the legislative power that has been delegated out to unelected bureaucrats. What Congress does is pass laws that say we want clean air, we want clean water. Now bureaucrats figure out how to do it, and then they complain whenever the bureaucrats do exactly what they ask them to do, which is make rules, make regulations that make it difficult for individuals, that make it difficult for businesses to thrive, because bureaucrats make bureaucracy.
Exactly.
And
That's what they do.
yeah, so it's got to be reined back in. so that the elected officials, the legislative branch, is actually the one making the laws and is held accountable by the voters.
Let me ask you a question too, because you're going from, right now you're in the state legislature, and obviously you have to deal with the federal government, and now you're running, and if everything goes the right way, you'll be in the federal government, and part of the Senate. So what's your position actually on a convention of states if it came to that,
Right.
in order to rein in
Yeah.
the power that the federal government has?
Well, I've been a part of the Article 5 process in Arizona since I've been in the legislature. I attended the Mount Vernon Assembly. I always joke, not the first one of modern times. And then I usually say, John McCain might have been. No,
That's
just
the first
kidding.
one.
At the
Yeah,
first
that's
one.
actually
Really,
a pretty
but
good one,
I'll
and I
follow.
wouldn't doubt it either.
So I've been involved in it because I see our Constitution being chipped away every single day by this administration, by Republicans and Democrats in Congress. There's attacks every day on the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the 10th Amendment. I see the 10th Amendment basically being ignored at the state level.
Exactly, yeah. It's tough.
And so people are fearful of an Article 5 process. However, the bar is very, very high. 2/3 of the states have to join in, and then anything to be ratified has to go through 3/4 of the state. So it is a very, very difficult process to accomplish and to close the loop at the end. But I see us losing our Constitution now, so I'm not fearful the founders put that in the Constitution. I like the whole Constitution, Article 5 included. And so if it comes to that, then we're going to have to do it, because the proper balance between the states and this overreaching, overbearing, overtaxing, overregulating federal government has got to be restored. The states
Amen.
need their
Press you
power
on
back.
that. But let me press you on that a little bit, because I think the fear, from what I'm hearing, is that, we have a Congress that is controlled by Republicans, and Obama was able to pass, to get everything this man wants, he gets, including one of the most radical and dangerous and prosperous bills with the Iran deal
Don't even
through.
get me started on
and
that.
So we don't have, and so our Republican conservative base don't even have the backbone on something that is so obviously and blatantly wrong, and that we could win easily, to press against that, because just a little pressure from the left, we seem to fold. And so I think the concern is we don't have the fortitude, the spinology. I'm just making up a word.
I like it. We don't
I like that. Hey, we're making things up.
we
Contact
don't have the
Webster.
spine in order to open and to be responsible with the duty of opening up the Constitution.
And I understand that
and then
fear.
closing it back, and we still be a democratic republic.
Yes, but are we truly a democratic republic right now?
No, but do we want to open up that
republic?
can of worms?
Right.
Do we
Yes.
have that in our
Yes.
country with our legislators? Do we have the spine?
Or do we have the people who could go to a convention and be trusted to do the
and to come
the
out?
duty? Yes, and
yes,
come out. I know.
without being bribed and bought and finagle, go in one way, come out with this long excuse on why they didn't do
Right,
what
why
they
they
said
did
they're
away
gonna
with the Second Amendment, right?
Yes,
Yes.
exactly.
And I understand that fear, and I do understand the caution that we have to have as we go into thinking about an Article 5 process. The last time it was proposed, decades ago, basically Congress shaped up its act whenever it got close to looking as though there were 2/3 of the states ready to go and to join a convention. And so I'm hoping that if states continue down that road, the Congress will say, "Ooh, we've got to shape up our act." I also think that if we get people into the federal level who understand that there is a balance between the states and the federal government, and that the federal government's role is very, very limited, and people that are in D.C. are willing to return that power to the states that belongs in the states, we won't have to go all the way to an Article 5 convention.
We will see. Now, before we let you go, what do you think about the debate last night? Did you have a chance to
Oh my
watch
gosh! You saw how busy it was in the room. We had the Gunners of America.
Yes.
And
So true.
So it was very difficult to hear, and so I didn't even watch. I don't even know if I watched 5 minutes of the debate. This morning I haven't even gotten to see any highlights. So I'm kind of in the dark. But tell me.
But what do you think? But what do you think overall about what the American people are clearly sending a message on what they're sick and tired of, on the establishment, like their judgment against the establishment and what it looks like?
Oh yeah.
Do you think the Republican establishment has the humility to see what the American people are saying
Right. You say
and
establishment
respond.
and humility
I
in the
know.
same sentence. You know what?
I always go
my
back.
mind's blown right now.
I always go back to my favorite James Bond quote where M said, you know, like, this may be too much for a blunt object to understand, but rarely does self-awareness and humility go hand in hand. And I mean, self-awareness and arrogance. Self-awareness and arrogance rarely go hand in hand. So that's what I'm asking, because we have a lot at stake this year. Both Donald Trump and Carlson has said on a number of times, if we get this wrong, come November, the America that we have grown up loving may not be here anymore. We have a number of offices, seats coming open with the Supreme Court. So we don't have the time to get this one wrong and try to get it right next time. Yeah, get it right now. So again, does the Republican establishment, in your opinion, have the awareness
Well, I think
to humble themselves?
Right. No, I don't think so. I really don't. I see them clawing their fingernails into the wall of the empire that they have created for themselves and for others that they deem worthy to be part of that empire. And they are fighting tooth and nail against great people, great conservatives who could take this country in an amazing direction because they want to maintain their power, their piece of the pie. And so, you know, I think it is a fight between the establishment and between people
and the
from
people.
the outside. The people, yes. Because the establishment, the people who have been in Washington, the career politicians, have forgotten who they work for. They now believe they work for their sponsors, the people who give them lots of money, the people who lavish them with opportunities and gifts and different things. And that's unfortunate because they work for us. And
exactly. This isn't NASCAR. It's not like they're working
should
for
have
the
a
fans
package.
and they're not working for the people, you know, they put on the car. Let me ask you just real quick before we let you go. Have you endorsed the candidate, or who is it that you're at this point you staying neutral?
Because I've got one big race ahead of me with a pretty formidable opponent in Senator McCain, and so I'm working really hard on that. I think we've got some great people that are still left that could take the country where we want it to go if we unify and we stop trying to cut each other down and we stop seeing people like Lindsey Graham and Mitt Romney and John McCain cutting down the people who are up there at the top. I mean, and especially for John McCain and Mitt Romney, to see them attacking our candidates when they were candidates themselves, they didn't enjoy it when people from our own party came after them. So why are they now going after our guys? I think we should just let it play out and let the people choose the person that they want to be our nominee and ultimately our president, because I'm pretty sure that we are going to have a conservative president in 2017.
I hope so. That's the threat of it. Donald Trump moving, going third party. Dr. Kelly Ward, thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm so grateful that you stopped by.
It was great to meet
you.
you.
We are rooting for you.
I
will definitely be posting. I will most definitely. Thank you so much for coming.
And if your listeners want to find out more, go to kellyward.com, KELLIWARD.com. I'd love to
Kelly with an I.
Yes, Kelly with an I because I
care about the people. Yes.
There you go. That's a great one.
I woke up this morning thinking about that. Kelly with an I because I care. I love it. Thank you so much for coming.
All right, good luck. Bye. All right, that was interesting. She actually seems like a really good choice for them based on her legislative records. I stated I did look it up before, and she's actually done a lot of positive things, as far as pushing conservative values in a state where they've, I think, been underrepresented as far as, in the Senate because of John McCain. If you look at some of the legislators from there, like Jeff Flake, these are, Jeff Flake was in on the Gang of Eight bill, which is not really necessarily good for the American workers. It was really bad.
For security.
For security,
right.
too. Yes, security, because think about it, right in that border, that's where all the drugs are coming in. There's a lot of criminals coming in that way.
Yeah.
And, not to sit there and say that everybody that comes into this country illegally commits a crime, but technically they do, because the moment they step foot on our soil illegally, they are criminals.
Right, exactly, right. But nonetheless, our president just passed with one of his many executive orders, PEP. I can't even think of the name of what PEP means right now. But it's a new enforcement program that essentially says illegal aliens coming across our borders, what they can be arrested for and what they cannot be arrested for. And the thing that really got me, I'll bring that up to you guys at another time, but one of the things that is a part of the PEP enforcement program is that fraud, identity theft, is one of those things that President Obama has delineated as not being for the security, for our police to not prosecute illegal aliens
Wow.
on. So you and I know I'm trying to be very careful in how I word that, but you and I work a lifetime trying to build and obtain a particular state in life, and an illegal alien come in, go through my trash, whatever they need to do, break through my security walls on my computer, get my identity, go and buy a home, go and buy a car. And according to this new law, executive order that Obama has pushed through called PEP, you can go out there and look it up and find out what the name of it is. I will too. PEP, they will not be prosecuted.
Wow, that's like direct wealth redistribution in a sense.
You know?
Because people just come right and take it from you in a sense. Because think about it, if they break into your account, if they do if that's directly what it is, think about what it means. I mean, somebody can actually, obtain your identity and hijack your bank account and take your money. And what, they're not going to be prosecuted? That's insane. That's like one of the craziest things I've ever heard of.
Yes, it is called Priority Enforcement Program.
Wow.
PEP, Priority Enforcement Program. It was issued, the final order was issued on January 1st, 2014, and it is Obama setting a priority on what offenses should be arrested, should be looked into, and the one that popped out to me, I mean, like, there's a long list of them, but the one that popped out to me was the one of fraud, identity theft.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because if I stole your identity as an American citizen, Julio, I could be prosecuted.
Of course.
But if an illegal alien comes over and steals my identity, you know what? I should give it to them, because
no, we're evil, greedy
otherwise
Americans.
we're greedy, we're
course,
evil,
yeah,
we're
bad.
bigots, we're bad. And so that's the crazy, I mean, like, that's the lunacy of it all.
Exactly, yes. No, you should be a lot more sympathetic to their plight and not complain about it and just deal with it according to President Obama.
Because, at the heart of it all, they're all really good, really loving people. And I am not saying that they're not, but let me tell you something. One of the things that causes Trump to resonate so highly with the American people is the fact that those headlines he put out there, I'm not saying he has a lot of substance underneath those headlines, but those headlines he provides, they are amazing headlines. When he said Mexico is not sending us their best and their brightest, he ain't never lied. They're not sending us their best and their brightest, because we can look especially in the state of California, when they come in, and how many of them go on to public assistance.
Exactly, yeah. They should be sending us the novella actors. That's the people they should be sending into this country. No, but to tell you the truth, I mean, that's been the big thing with Donald Trump, is the fact that he was able to come out to the forefront and speak out, on the immigration issue. And I think he gained a lot of conservatives with that. As far as where the moderates stand with him, obviously the party doesn't want to see Donald Trump. As far as yesterday, the debate, what I've been reading, because I didn't unfortunately have the opportunity to watch a lot of it, people have been scoring Donald Trump sort of low as far as his performance last night. But then again, that varies from news source to news source, because some news sources may be pushing one candidate over the next. I don't know how much of it you got to see, Kathy, but what were your impressions based on the debate last night?
They were going in on Trump.
Was it tag team Rubio and Cruz again?
No, you know what? It was primarily tag team between Cruz and Kelly. From Kelly Fowles.
Oh, yeah, wow.
It was
so
a
good.
tag team.
Yeah.
I mean, let me tell you something. I have never seen her look more beautiful. Her
She
flashlights,
did look stunning.
I mean, her eyelashes were on point. It was,
and her flashlights.
I know.
Her flashlights were beaming.
Her eyelashes were on point.
Yes.
Her hair. She got the new haircut.
Yeah.
I mean, she was all
absolutely
about
gorgeous. Yeah.
No. But I say that to say she was all about business, and her business was all about going in on Trump. She was fearless. She even had. I never seen a presidential debate where they actually pull in audio and video from previous conversations and statements. So she was well prepared, and she was all about going in.
Awesome. Yeah. What were, as far as like, who do you think as far as policy, or was it more of like a mudslinging contest between the candidates?
Trump actually, it was very surprising that he maintained his composure throughout it all, because we're so used to him blowing up and just going in, and they had him on the ropes. I mean, but I'm telling you, it was a tag team between Cruz and Kelly. They both had him on the ropes the entire time, so it was quite interesting to see that. Now, policy, we know Trump does not provide a detailed plan on policy. Like I said on numerous occasions, he has wonderful headlines, and the plan, when it comes out, his comment is, "You're gonna love it."
Exactly. It's like soundbite policy or whatever. The way he's selling himself, it's such. I really don't understand why. In our day and age where so much information is verifiable, people put their policy online on their presidential websites, or you can look back at the history of things, why people just so easily or readily accept these, these very rudimentary answers as far as what he's going to do. It's just like, it's going to be great, we're going to fix it. Okay, that's fine. It sounds like almost like an auto mechanic telling you he's going to fix the issue, but he doesn't want to give you an exact quote as far as price.
Should we sit him down?
Yeah.
Yeah, but let me tell you guys, you are listening to WAAR Radio with Kathy Barnette with Truth Exchange and Julio Rivera.
Conservarican and Friends.
And we are broadcasting live from CPAC 2016. Let me tell you, this has been an awesome experience. It really has been one of, just being able to network, to be able to get to know people. It has truly been a great opportunity to meet fellow patriots.
Conservatives and patriots, like our next guest, Andrew Marr, Special Forces Green Beret and founder and CEO of the Warrior Angels Foundation. He's here at CPAC, and actually I was looking into some of the information here that we got from you. And Warrior Angels Foundation, your sole purpose is to stop the deaths of veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome symptoms caused by unfortunate traumatic brain injuries. You had yourself suffered numerous traumatic brain injuries from explosions during your 3 tours of duty, and thank you so much for your service.
Yes,
God bless
thank
you.
you so
and
much.
what you've done. People I don't think appreciate enough, the veterans. That's something also that's resonated during this presidential election cycle. What can we do to help take better care of our heroes? They go out there and risk their lives for us. You did actually retire due to medical issues. An elite performer, top-level performer during the war. You had issues because of the brain injuries that you suffered. And there was something I saw very interesting as far as you were coming up with some theories as far as how we can medically deal with post-traumatic stress syndrome. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you've been able to come up with and what you're doing currently on that?
Well, Julio, what we found is what the science has revealed is an answer, and it's targeting a specific group of hormones produced in the brain called neurosteroids. Over time, with repetitive head trauma, these are affected, and then you become deficient in these neurosteroids. These neurosteroids, they are responsible for making us who we are. They affect cognition, they affect behavior, they affect executive decision making, our physiology, everything that makes us us. And so when that's deficient, you start having these slow declines. So like you said, I was an elite performer capable of making difficult decisions in life and death for a long time. And to somebody who came back and woke up one day, found myself on 13 different medications, was an alcoholic. My wife was 9 months pregnant, and her only request to me on that day was if I couldn't drink so much in case she went into labor so she didn't have to drive herself to the hospital. Wow. At that point, I said, this is enough. The current treatment model is based on psychotherapy and medication, and that did nothing to improve my quality of life. I've talked to now thousands of veterans. I don't know anybody who that's improved their quality of life. Once we were able to identify with just a correct blood panel that I was deficient in these certain neurosteroids and then replace them, bringing me back up to physiological levels, boom, back. I'm off all 13 meds. I've been sober for 16 months.
Congratulations.
I'm performing at a level that is higher or as good, if not better, than pre-injury status. We've now helped over 100 veterans do the same thing. Many of them had more than one suicide attempt. They're now off all medications and living a life again. That's what we're bringing here. That's when people understand there's hope, there's an answer, there's a solution.
And
I'm sorry, but what's interesting about this and what I want people to understand, that this is something that you have taken the lead on by yourself. This is not you going to a doctor and the doctor or the government, the VA coming together and saying, hey, this is the studies that we've done on these specific groups of neurosteroids, and so this is what we're going to do to remove you off of this. No, it's important to note that, I mean, like one of the things you said on your bio is that you got tired of waiting for the government to diagnose you and your brother and to help you and your brother, so you took it into your own hands to find your own cure.
We're not going to wait on somebody else to answer solve the problem. In this case, it was government. So we're not going to wait on the government. We went out, we found an answer, we found a solution. Now we found a way to bring world-class care to any veteran wherever they are, without having to go to the doctor's office. And how amazing is that?
And let me ask you a question. As far as because what I looked at, and it seemed more this is like a hormonal sort of treatment. So as far as what has doctors told you as far as like is it, obviously it's a brain chemistry thing, getting levels to a natural state without using actual medicine. It's almost like having your body help itself, right? Is that more or less what you would say medically? I'm not a doctor, so I can't really explain it.
Like a car, okay? And something went wrong, and now the oil now is no longer in the tank. Well, then think the basic medical model says, okay, there's no oil in the tank. Let's put some sand in the gas tank. Well, what sense does that make? It doesn't solve anything. That doesn't help anybody. That's the analogy there. So what we've done is, instead of putting sand in the gas tank, we put oil back where it goes. And now the car can run efficiently.
And how do you do that? Okay, so what's the oil?
Well, everything is individualized. And here's another thing. It's no cookie cutter answer. It's highly specific onto what you're deficient in. So for me, I was deficient in all my testosterone, human growth hormone, thyroid, and the precursors that make those things. And here's the difference: if you don't treat the precursors, if you're deficient in the precursors, then you're not going to solve the problem. So if you're just giving somebody testosterone and they have things that make testosterone upstream, then you haven't solved the problem. This is the difference. We were able to identify that and treat it, interdict it, and then back on.
So it's a permanent fix instead of just like putting a Band-Aid on it, right?
It goes to the underlying condition. It says, here's the underlying condition, and instead of saying, we don't know what it is, here's a anti-anxiety, here's a psychotropic, here's an antidepressant, here's
and you know
narcotic.
why? Because those things are, what we have found, that those things are profitable to the
100%.
pharmaceutical
100%.
industry. So it's not about let me cure you anymore. It's about how can I continue this revenue stream. And so now you become a source of revenue. And it's really I'm getting kind of hyped on this, because it is like you were asking earlier about how did the presidential debate go, and one of the things that was blatantly lacking was a substantive conversation on our veterans. And being a veteran myself, I remember being 19 years old, getting ready to finish boot camp, and then I had this epiphany that I could go to war for some reason. It had not,
after boot camp,
it had not fully registered. It had not fully, because I would think, it's a way to pay for college.
Sure.
It's a way to to travel the world, to see the world, right? But then right before I graduated from boot camp, this epiphany happened that, oh my goodness, you could go to war, you could die, your life could be radically modified. And then I asked myself, well, would you do it? And it began from that moment at 19 till today, of beginning to understand that if I was called, I would go. But why am I going? And it began this journey of understanding my country, becoming a lover of my country, right?
Yep,
and a lover of all things Americans. And then we fast forward to today and the administration that we have, and it's just blatant disrespect and blatant disregard. 22 veterans committing suicide every day, and yet they're talking about minimum wage that only affects a million people in our over 300 million people community in America. But you want to talk about the 1 million people versus the 22 that are killing themselves every day, that put their lives on the line.
Yeah.
You come back, you're looking for care, you're looking for help, and what do? Maybe you'll get an appointment at the VA office. Maybe you will be able to get in there in time before you commit suicide. But to the other point that you're talking about right now, when you do get in, they're not even really trying to help you.
Right.
They're trying to sustain another economic model for the benefit of someone else.
Right.
I know I went on a long tirade, but it's
all true, all real
it's
stuff.
such
Absolutely.
an irritating thing, and it's something that I think about because I'm like, if one of us go, if my life matter, I know my life may not matter.
It absolutely
to some
matters.
people.
Yeah, but
to some
your
people.
life, all lives matter.
To this administration, okay, now don't get me talking about Black Lives Matter. That's another tirade. But to this administration, it may not matter to some of those people. But to me and my family, my life matter, right? And I have family members that are over there. Their lives matter, right? But if we get caught over there, you're stuck like Chuck, unless you're Muslim. But if you're an American citizen, you could be stuck like Chuck over there in one of those countries that they send us over into, right?
Yeah.
I know I said a lot.
Yeah.
Pick and choose anything you want to talk about, but there you have it.
Well, I mean, first of all, thank you for your service, and it's been a pleasure speaking to several veterans already here today at CPAC. But what's interesting is in America today, the average wait time to see a doctor is 62 minutes. Wow. 62 minutes. The average time spent
For VA?
For the VA, it's worse. Okay, but the average is 62. The average time you spend in an actual doctor's office with the doctor is 7 minutes.
Yeah.
What can you do in 7 minutes? You can write a prescription for a medication. You surely can't find out individually what's the problem or what's going on with that person at an individual level. And so that's what we're saying. We're saying everybody is different, special, highly individualized. Well, they need individualized treatment. And we are tired of the way the VA is handling things, the military is handling things. We're not complaining. We have an alternate solution. And so instead of having to go to a doctor's office, we have a premier lab in Florida called Access Labs. We will make coordinations for the blood kit to be sent to you wherever you're at. We'll coordinate with the closest laboratory to your geographical location. You go to the lab, they draw your blood, they send it back to Florida, then they send that to our doctor, who is a world-class neuroendocrinologist in the field of traumatic brain injury, and he's going to give you a one-on-one Skype consultation from California, wherever you're at. And so now we've just brought one of the best in the world to wherever you're at.
And this is all under your foundation.
That's correct. Warrior Angels Foundation.
The Warrior Angels Foundation. And people can find out more about you how?
Yeah. You can get us on the web at waftbi.org. That's waftbi.org.
WAF.
TBI.
T as in Tom, B-I.
Yep. T as in traumatic, B as in brain, I as in injury. And that's ORG, and we have all our social media links there. We put out a ton of good content, the leading stuff that's coming out in neuroscience, and updates from the new front lines, as I call them. And we just have a lot of information out there for people to find out what's going on.
Yeah, it's really important because I think with this sort of an injury, this sort of diagnosis, it's so individualized. Everybody's brain chemistry is different, so it is really important to have that analysis so that you can figure out exactly. I mean, it's almost like government. They try to do a one-size-fits-none sort of solution. They just fill you full of drugs, and they use Band-Aids, but they never really heal anything. And I think it's wonderful that this foundation here is going to truly help get to the core of the problem, to stop the suicides are out of control, and the way that we treat our veterans is out of control. And it's really time that we address these issues. And help people that truly need it, that we owe everything to. I mean, if there's anybody that we owe it all to, it's definitely to our veterans.
And I want to point out, our population isn't asking for any handouts or anything. They're just saying, hey, we have a problem, and it's not being treated the right way through the means that we're offered. And so we're providing a solution. We're not complaining. We're not doing anything. We're just saying, hey, okay, that's fine. Do it that way. We have a different solution, and the one that works.
Fantastic.
I love it. You know what I mean? But that really, like when you say that the veterans community is not asking for a handout, but that really is. I mean, it just kind of goes back to our makeup in the first place, because could we go into the military to serve?
Right.
Well, whatever the other ancillary reasons may be. For me, it was for college primarily, right? But you're also there, and you go, and you're serving because you're wanting to serve. So yeah, you come back, you're looking. I mean, it's it's this really, it's a large amount of disregard for those who have sacrificed something in our country. It's very selfish and disrespectful. That's what I see when I see, it kind of reminds me of the Vietnam War, when the soldiers came back, and the blatant disregard for the sacrifice of someone else's life.
I think the general public has been pretty supportive, but you don't know what you don't know, right? And so that's why it's important. Thank you for letting us be on the show to get a message out like this, saying, hey, if you're out there and you're struggling, it doesn't have to be that way. If you were performing and if you were living at a certain standard and now all of a sudden you're not, and you're on a cascade of medications and your life's out of control, there's an answer for that. We have it.
Thank you so much for coming. And again, people can get in touch with you how?
WAFTBI.org, WAFTBI.org.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
I
guys
appreciate
so
you
much.
being
Thank you guys
here.
so much.
God bless, bro.
Yeah.
Guys, you were listening to Andrew Marr. He's a Special Forces Green Beret and the CEO and founder of Warrior Angels Foundation.
Yep, and you can email them if you have any information requests at info@warriorangelsfoundation.org. Certainly a very important and worthy cause. That's something that really everybody who's listening should, find out more information about and help get behind, because it's very important that we help our veterans. At the end of the day, the freedoms and the liberties that we enjoy today is due to their sacrifice, because if we don't have our brave warriors on the front line, we won't have our freedom, and that's the God's honest truth.
Now, you're a veteran also, right?
Yes, I am a veteran also as well, but not I'm not a combat veteran, but I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I am a veteran.
Is a veteran.
A veteran's a veteran,
right,
but
exactly,
yes,
right.
but
Because
I mean,
had you been called, you would have gone.
I know, but Andrew's a hero. And
Yes,
there's a little bit
yes,
of a difference. A little bit of a
yes.
difference there.
Well, you just want to give, umbrage to those who have played, who put some skin in the game.
Exactly.
I think we
Yes.
have. Yeah, and one of the things that we often see is that people, don't take into consideration what others have sacrificed and have put out there. So anyway, but this is really wonderful. I mean, when I found out that 22 veterans commit suicide every day, I mean, that's unthinkable. It truly is unthinkable. But that's the culture in which we live in. Guys, you're listening to Kathy Barnette with Truth Exchange and Julio Rivera.
Conservative Rican and Friends with continuing coverage of CPAC 2016 from the Gaylord.
Live. Coverage.
Yes, live coverage. Live continuing coverage.
Yeah.
All right.
I have really had a great time being here. I mean, I've met so many people. Quality people. It's not just because sometimes I do take a back seat when you see people just going to these events and they just want to just take pictures with everyone and put it on their Facebook, and then that's about as much of a substantive exchange that they have. But no, just really being able to get into a place like this, I think it's priceless. When if you have the heart of an activist, if you have the mindset to really engage your culture and to make a difference, something like this is so important. And so this is my first time. I do not see it being my last time coming to a CPAC convention.
Did you have a chance to check out any of the breakout sessions?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like I said, going in to hear some of the senators yesterday. Who was it? I went and listened to, they talked about We the People, how to restore our democracy. And we had Representative Hand Sarling from Texas and Senator Mike Lee from Utah, as well as Dennis Prager, who is just a phenom. I mean, the man is just so intelligent, so wise, so full of wisdom. But they were in there talking, and I really thought it was amazing when they started talking about how the government, Congress, have given over their power and their control to unelected bodies of bureaucrats.
Exactly, and most of the stuff is done behind closed doors, and we have no idea what's actually going on, like the whole net neutrality thing. As far as a lot of things with EPA, which affects state governments and the job market all around the country, the people don't have. First of all, they don't know who are making these decisions. They don't know most of what the decisions are, and then all these businesses have to comply with just this random. These random rules and regulations that not even the people that they elected into office were the ones that created. It'd be one thing as far as for accountability purposes if it's our legislators that we elect, our elected officials making these decisions. But these are just appointees. Some of them are just appointed either by the president or these bureaucratic bodies are put together, and God knows who's appointing them, and who's really pulling the strings. I think that the real danger to our country right now, and this is something that we had spoken out earlier with Patrice, is cronyism. Cronyism, because they're going to put people in, they're going to make decisions that are going to be restrictive to competitive businesses, that are not in the loop, so to speak. And that's the way that most of the business gets transacted in D.C. Maybe that's the reason why outsiders in this, election cycle have been particularly resonant.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously that's the reason, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the reason why America is falling over themselves to support Trump. I mean, when we were taking a look at the Twitter polls during the debate last night, I mean, and Trump was astronomical. His support was it was huge over... Huge over all the others. It was amazing. I'm saying huge because I'm trying to pull it up right now. But it was astounding because, I mean, let me tell you, the more they went in on Trump, the greater his ratings became. It was absolutely astounding.
It's like, what my theory on him is that he's probably the second most famous man in the country behind the president. Anything that he does, it's like when you're in politics sometimes, and especially now in our soundbite society right now, I think people are a little bit jaded. There's really no news or no attention is bad attention. So when the light's always shining on you, that helps drives his publicity. So I mean, he's not going to go anywhere necessarily. I think that when it comes down to making your conscience decision as far as on policy and whatnot, who can you trust, I think that's going to affect them in a sense. But as far as the free press,
I don't know if people care.
That's unfortunate. That's a sad commentary that people don't. And I agree with you. I think that's the reason why he's so popular.
People, I mean, he's so popular because people are so angry. And
It
people
is, yeah.
have every right to be angry when if you are remotely, if you have a modicum of awareness of where our country is right now and where our country is headed, you should be angry. You should be very angry. And Donald Trump he touched that nerve very early on with the illegal immigration or the illegal immigration through the Mexican border. He hit that nerve, and he has stayed on that nerve when it talked about Syrian refugees. The Paris attack had just happened, and our president was still going out, pedal to the metal, pushing the Syrian refugees coming in. And Donald Trump once again beat all of the other candidates to the podium to say this is ludicrous. Now, as I've said before, and I continue to say it, wonderful headlines, and those headlines was all that it needed to touch what Americans are feeling. Let me go back. The live Twitter feed that was going on last night, poll that was going on last night, there were a little bit over 66,000 Twitter followers who voted. Out of the 66,000 that came on, Trump had 71% of favorability. His favorability among those who were polled on Twitter was 71%. Cruz was at 18%. Kasich at 7%. Rubio at 5%.
Wow, Rubio.
The golden boy,
Kasich?
golden boy Rubio was at 5%.
That's shocking.
It is shocking, right? Because Rubio is synonymous with the establishment. The establishment loves Rubio.
Wow. That's insane. Yeah, I would have never thought that. That's actually, but you know what? There's people have been rumoring that Fox News is actually no longer supposed, I guess people would say, in the tank for Rubio. I think that people are jumping off of that ship now that we've gone this far into the election cycle. And really, for all intents and purposes, he hasn't really won anything. He did win Minnesota.
He won one.
But Minnesota's a wacky state. It's a wacky state because it's a blue state, and it's the state that elected Jesse Ventura. Their electorate is kind of all over the place. That doesn't really say much. That's like winning Delaware or something like that.
Hey.
And I'm not trying to knock Delaware. Hey, Delaware, the state that gave us Joe Biden. Like that, yeah, okay. Good for them.
But
or
listen,
whatever.
but you know what I mean, and what you're saying is very true, right? I mean, like the love for Rubio is beginning to wane,
It's
and then you
waning,
can
yeah.
almost see it on his face.
The
He
luster.
didn't look as polished. He didn't look as glitzy and
The
shiny.
little that I saw, and it's funny, you can tell sometimes, and I try to observe these guys because I try to decide when I watch them speak who's being honest and transparent and who isn't. Rubio early on, it seemed like when he was speaking more with more conviction when he had more confidence.
Yeah,
Last night,
yeah.
didn't it seem like his voice was a little higher pitched? He almost seemed whiny.
Yeah, you know what I mean. But even the dullness of his complexion.
Yeah.
Like just look at Dr. Ben Carlson. When he started this presidential election to when he just recently when he came out talking about dropping out of the race. He has had a physical transformation. This is torture, I'm sure. This presidential campaign is a tremendous amount of energy, effort. Everything you probably have. So anyway, as I was looking at Rubio last night, I noticed that even his complexion has dulled, which is it was noticeable to me because each time he stood up in those debates, he reminded me of a mini Reagan. He sounded like a mini Reagan. He was portraying a mini Reagan, although we obviously knew his policies were not those of a Reaganist kind of person.
Yeah, he should have gotten one of those spray tans like Trump, the way he was looking last night.
Trump was almost looking orange.
Exactly. No, but the one thing I was going to say is that you were making the point earlier with Carson and how this kind of the campaigning, the process of campaigning takes it out of you. But it's a good measuring stick because if you can't even get through a campaign with your energy
I like that.
and all that, how are you going to run the country at the end of the day? Think about it. If this is taking it out of you, how are you going to deal with
Good point.
Iran, the economy,
China,
immigration, China? You got to be tough. You got to be a special person.
Yeah, Russia's trying to bully. And we're going to see more and more of that as well. We are located in the worst place. No, you did not. This has happened so many times.
Yeah.
It is the worst location apparently. But listen to this right here. Here we go. We're getting ready to go into March 15th. The Florida and Ohio are the largest winner-take-all primaries. So basically, after March 15th, we will know who is 98% in the. But Florida and Ohio are the two largest winner-take-all. Then you have Illinois, Missouri, and North Carolina. But those two are truly the largest winner-takes-all.
Yeah, as far as delegates,
and delegates is really all that matters.
They're swing states. I don't look at it as be-all, end-all, to be honest with you. I think there's still... we're still too early on in the process. You got to get 1,237 delegates to outright win and not be contested in Ohio. So, we've got still a long way to go.
But I think that's the reason why, people like Kasich and Rubio, who don't have a snowball chance in hell of winning, are still staying in because they want to take some of those votes away from the two more likely potential candidates being Cruz and Trump. You're shaking your head no.
No, I think that's why they want to stay in. But if that's why they want to stay in, then they're not really running a campaign in earnest. They're there to play spoiler.
Yes,
and if they're to play spoiler,
do.
who's putting them there to play spoiler? You have to look like one level beyond that. Like what are the powers that be that are doing it?
America, as of right now, although I believe it's a shell game right now, but America is the most powerful country in the world. And so to be the head of that powerful country, to be the CEO, the president of the most powerful country in the world, that's a lot of power. That's a lot of control.
What do you think's pulling
and there's
those
a lot of
strings,
stakes. Oh, there are a lot of people in play. There's a lot at stake. There's a lot of movement to the left, to the right that wants to be had. And even as Dr. Kelly Ward, who is running against John McCain in Arizona, was saying that even the Republican establishment, they are clawing the walls to maintain their control. They do not want to lose that control, and their golden boy, the establishment's golden boy, is clearly Rubio. But Rubio, like I said, don't have a snowball chance in hell
Yeah,
of
he's
winning
done.
anything,
Yeah, he's
and
done.
yet he's staying in. And I believe that is one of the reasons why we're seeing such a downturn in his complexion,
Well, you know what I
because he's
think?
going through it.
You know what I think too? I think that this boils down to this. I think that, and we won't know about this until Ohio, but I think that if it is Trump with the majority of the delegates and he doesn't get to the 1,237, what they're going to do is they're going to go ahead and they're going to try to take the nomination and decide who it is. So I
Yes.
think the reason why Rubio is staying in the race is he needs to have a certain amount of delegates. So then that way, at that point, what they can do is he can go with Cruz and say, listen, you don't have enough delegates yourself to beat Trump. So what we can do is we can combine our delegates and we're going to run a joint ticket. I mean, and I think that that's going to be what winds up
Right.
happening.
Why
I think
not?
we will get a contested convention if Donald Trump doesn't get 1,237 delegates. And I actually have mixed feelings on that. I mean, I am one of the biggest supporters. I love Ted Cruz. I mean, I'm just a huge Ted Cruz
Yes,
supporter. Everybody
Abby.
knows that, but there comes to a point where if the people do speak, and Trump winds up with the most delegates, I feel kind of conflicted, because it's almost not really fair to take it away from somebody if the people have spoken, even if they've spoken in a manner which I would consider extremely ignorant for putting somebody like that in. I mean, that's just my opinion. They have a right to their own opinion, and it's a free country. So if he winds up with the most delegates, I don't know necessarily how good I would feel about having somebody,
should
doing
feel
using
horrible.
trickery. Yeah, I should.
You should feel horrible because,
Yeah.
before I'm a cruiser, before I'm a Trumper, I am an American.
Exactly,
Right?
yeah, so-
I am an American, and if nothing else, I want to be able to preserve our country, right? And this will, and trying to steal or take away something that has been clearly earned. If Trump or Cruz should earn that, and then someone comes around, and then the establishment comes around and tries to take that away, that will harm, irreparably harm our nation.
Yeah, and it destroy the Republican Party. I mean, Rand Paul said that himself
It
too.
will get Hillary in.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
And we don't
maybe
want that.
Not necessarily. I see that I don't necessarily agree with. I just think from a moral standpoint and from a
It will get
principle
Hillary in, I
standpoint. No, well, I mean, you think that if Cruz and Rubio wound up together on the same ticket with all the support that they have?
No.
You don't think that they could
What
win?
I believe, no. What I'm saying is that Hillary will win if
Trump runs third
if it
party.
is clearly
Yeah.
if it is clear that Trump should have won, the Republican establishment does some kind of chicanery behind the scenes to take it away from him, and then Trump feels rubbed the wrong way, moves to a third party, which I believe is very likely. Hillary will win.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of people have said that. My theory has always been that Trump is actually drawing a lot of support from people on the left and independents. So I think that he takes maybe more support from Hillary. I don't think necessarily it's a slam dunk that Trump running as a third party hands it to Hillary. I think maybe that was the case back in '92 when Perot ran and he took a lot of votes away from George Bush. But there's George Bush and Perot were probably seen as a lot more similar than whichever young senator winds up running against Donald Trump. So I don't think necessarily the results of a third-party run would necessarily benefit the Democrats. I think it may actually benefit the Republicans in this scenario. Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, that's basically based on what I was thinking. So like, in other words, because there's a stark difference between Trump and the young, Cuban American senators that are running, I think that the result will be different than it was for Bill Clinton and Ross Perot and George Herbert Walker Bush in the '90s. But I don't know. That's something that remains to be seen. My hope is that the Republican Party gets it together, and we get Kasich dropping out. Hopefully, we get Rubio dropping out sooner than later, and all that support will go to the rightful candidate that it should go to.
Hey, listen, we have, it's so amazing. Let me just give the call letters again. We are WAAR Radio. You're listening to Kathy Barnette with Truth Exchange and Julio Rivera.
We're Conservarican and
And
Friends
we-
with live coverage of CPAC 2016 from the National Convention Center.
Yes, so excited. And so we routinely get people walking by. We have Alexa, like, let me see your card. Alexa, how do you pronounce that? Dunnitz, yes, who's dropping by. What's going on, Alexa?
Not
what do you want to share with us?
So I kind of going to give you a rundown of the millennial quotes opinion of the debate.
I love it.
yeah.
Yes, give it to us. Because, I mean, I'm not a millennial. I barely missed the cutoff.
Yeah.
Stop
Me
being a
too.
millennial.
Me too.
They
Yes.
make that cutoff. It's not something I'm proud of.
So give us, yes,
So-
most definitely give us the millennial view of the debate last night.
I could have done without the entire first hour of that debate.
Really?
Why?
I am not a party loyalist. I don't believe that you vote party line that you vote, but
Good.
I do believe that if you're running in a party, that you follow Reagan's 11th and you don't bash the other members of that party, or at least the other candidate.
Yeah, I know.
I don't need to be on the air to hear about how big Donald Trump's junk is. It's not a useful. It's not a useful point. And
You don't
I
think
don't
it's,
love
it's
that.
a measuring stick towards his
Towards
policy
whether or not you're going to buy a
effectiveness?
Hummer.
No.
It's a measuring stick for how big your car has to be. That's about it.
I mean, but I think that's very valid because I mean, and I think I missed that point. So they talked about how big his truck that he drives.
No. They talked about how big his junk is.
Literally the size of his
Literally
penis.
the size
Because
of
he
his
was-
penis.
Yes, they did.
Yes,
They did.
no.
Trump
They
sat
did,
there
yeah.
and went,
No.
Rubio's talking about my
His
hands
hand
and
size
saying,
and what he was
"If my
implying."
hands are
Yeah.
small, something else must be small.
Yes.
I can tell you
I missed
that's
that.
not
Yes,
true.
that actually happened.
On air, in front of everyone.
That's what
and
you get
the
with Donald
headline
Trump.
on C
Or Rubio or Cruz or
but
any
the
of
headline
them.
on websites minutes later was Trump defends penis size.
Mm-hmm.
Is that really what we want out of our party as conservatives?
That's crazy.
See, I missed that, but did
I
Kasich
missed
weigh
that.
in?
Kasich stayed out of it. To be
Okay,
honest,
good.
Kasich looked like the
Because
only adult
that's
in the
that's an
room.
image I don't want to have to think about.
Kasich looked like the only adult in the room. 'Cause
Really?
He stayed out of everything.
Yes.
Trump was attacked by Rubio. Trump was attacked by Cruz. And Kasich looked like an adult because he wasn't attacking anyone.
I am looking that headline up. I just don't believe it. Donald Trump nearly turns GOP debate into literal penis measuring contest.
Yes.
I cannot believe that.
Yep.
Huffington Post. Okay, I would never say that again. But it was alluded to.
It was
alluded by Rubio.
Rubio on the campaign trail.
Yes.
But
Not
Trump
at-
introduced it
Trump
on
introduced
national.
it on national television.
Yeah, that was Rubio's last ditch attempt to try to get attention. You notice that he's changed his strategy and he's tried to be more
Yeah, but I
in a
don't-
humorous,
I
attacking
don't
way.
know if it's as much to get attention as it is to get under Donald Trump's skin.
Okay.
Because if you notice, he brought up the attack this time.
Yeah, exactly.
That means it bothers him, which makes me wonder if Rubio's got a little point to his.
I don't know. Maybe they.
Or
they-
the fact that he's a man, and that's generally what they're. But
Yeah,
but
but
nonetheless, to
the
introduce
guys
it on a
that tend
national
to-
level,
yeah,
is
it's
really
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
and
sad.
I could have probably
Sad
lived
commentary.
without knowing about that. I missed that part
It-
of the debate.
it
and I
was
probably
like the
could
first
have
5 minutes
lived
of the
without
debate.
it. Oh
Well,
my
thank you
goodness.
for advising us of
Thank
that
you.
now. That
Giving us
makes
the
sense.
millennial view of things.
Okay, and we're going to be joined now by Ellie Mae, the world famous viral video YouTube star. Yes, you are. You are famous.
Yeah.
I've watched your videos. I think that you speak for the millennials as far as a lot of frustration that you guys are probably feeling right now. But you get it. You understand how big government makes us less free. It's time for reform. It's time for change. Otherwise, we're going to lose it. And it's going to be, unfortunately, your generation that has to be the victim of it ultimately. I remember what freedom was like, or a little bit more freedom. You remember what being a little freer was like.
Yeah, of course.
You know, could you
I grew
imagine
up
what
free,
they're going to want
thinking
to...
free, thinking I was free,
Exactly,
you know,
yes.
feeling free, feeling as though, hey, I have the First Amendment right. I can say what I want to say, right?
Yeah.
And today it's no, you cannot say what you want to say. You can only say as much as does not offend the other
Right.
person.
Exactly.
So now someone else's offense meter becomes the barometer on how free free I am to speak
They're
my mind.
offense meter. I like
Yes,
that.
right.
Yeah.
They really do.
You know, and some of us are more sensitive than others, right? But now I have to kind of walk on eggshells because I never know.
Did you see the Ben Shapiro thing? I wanted to ask you about that. Did you see Ben Shapiro on the college campus? The outrage that they actually had the nerve to bring a conservative on a college
I
campus?
did see some of that, where there was, I think, a feminist who was flipping out saying, no, nobody should see him, which he just has a different point of view. And they have a point of view that's probably just straight up communism. And that just goes to show you, they're afraid to hear an individual, independent type of thought that actually is just making people freer, you know? So, yeah, I did see some of that.
Some of the most intolerant people I have ever met in my life are the ones that stands up on their little tippy toes screaming, tolerance, tolerance, we need tolerance. And I come to find that they are the most intolerant.
Selective tolerance, if you will.
Selective tolerance, right? Yeah, they're tolerant on all things ridiculous. But then when you try to bring in things like, I don't know, facts, logic, reasoning, it does not happen. Are you taking a selfie while we're broadcasting?
I want to make sure that I have a picture of me with Ellie because this is, the first opportunity I've had to actually interview her. So you got to call me out on it on radio.
So now we've been, I do. That's what we do. We're live broadcasting from
this is the truth exchange. It's all true.
Yeah, it's all about truth. Okay?
Exactly.
But now we've done a lot of talking. Talk to us. So what's your message?
Well, basically, I think people sort of grow up, if they don't have conservative parents, they grow up kind of learning liberalism, kind of just being ingrained by the media, by public school, things like that. And when I started hearing the conservative message, it really made me realize how much I was indoctrinated, really. So I would just encourage people to, I know everybody hates Rush Limbaugh and they hate conservative radio people, but if you would just try to listen to them and hear them out, that's how I kind of figured things out. Also, my mom is very conservative, so that helped. But just hear the other point of view, because you really don't realize that it's just common sense. It just makes so much more sense. And
if you can get out of your emotions, and use your and think,
logic.
Yeah, using some logic, right? But I think you bring up a really good point, because you're right. You don't even have to be. No one has to necessarily sit across the table and teach you the 1, 2, 3s of liberalism.
Right.
You get it just by walking down the street, going to get a sip of water at your high school, trying to go to the bathroom. Which bathroom you gonna go to? Where am I gonna go? Am I gonna go to this way or that way?
There's like 5 choices now, I think.
But you're right? We don't have to. No one has to sit down and teach a mind that for most part is not even fully developed until 21 now,
right?
What is true, what is right, what's logical. They just learn it because the whole culture has given itself over to this liberal model,
right?
So I think that's really interesting, because the other thing that you said, to tie into that, is that there is a vehement hatred towards those on the left of introducing anything conservative. So you have this model where everywhere you go, you're just walking down the street and liberalism just smacks you across the head.
Yes, it does. Literally on billboards telling you not to smoke, not to do this. Whatever .gov is on the billboard. It's everywhere.
It's really everywhere you go, so you're inundated.
Yeah. And San Francisco, actually, I'm pretty sure just raised their smoking age to 21. And
wow.
I know. And as
And so, what are you saying? People should.
I'm saying,
people should have the right to die sooner if they want to die of lung cancer.
Absolutely.
Make your own choices.
If you're an adult at 18, but
But what if
you're in middle school, like if I was, and I heard that, I'd be like, what a noble cause, stop people from dying. What? No, let's take a step back and think about who is setting that rule for me to choose.
Exactly.
The left is really the most anti-choice, compared to the right, with, regulations on this, food, cigarettes, everything. Even though those aren't necessarily good things, but why do they have the right to tell me what to do.
Exactly.
I like you because you have a knee-jerk reaction. I mean, I have a knee-jerk reaction. The moment I think someone's trying to take my freedom, I have a knee-jerk reaction to say, wait a minute. Even if it's good and what they're saying is makes sense. But let me play a little devil's advocate for you, because on the other side, I do. I mean, I don't smoke, never smoked, and I think no one should smoke, right? And yet, I do believe people have the right to live their life the way they want to live. However, now let's say fast forward it 20 years, and now you're suffering from all kinds of ailments, and now you're expecting me to take care of you,
and that's where,
because we have not only because we have the freedom choice on the one end, right? When you're young and popping and you want to look cute with the cigarette, but then on the other hand, we have this unraveling of our medical system, of our welfare system. People feel the government making people feel like, we're going to take care. Do you guys remember Julie? From the womb to the grave, President Obama came out with that whole video slide. He was trying to push it, that how the government would take care of Julie from the womb all the way to her grave, with socialism all the way through it. So that's the model, right?
Well, yeah, because, tax dollars eventually will be used to cover, medical bills potentially down the line. But I think that's where we have to step in and kind of teach people, don't smoke. We have to teach people that. That's our job, and we have been irresponsible, I think, on the right.
I got to give you a hand clap on that.
And so that's kind of where we fill in the gap.
I just feel like I was going to say, if we get them out of healthcare though, then they don't need to tell us what to do if the government's not going to ultimately be responsible for it. So.
I mean, but you're right? I mean, smoking is bad. However,
I like cigarettes.
Smoking is bad, Leo.
But I like cigarettes, but I have the right to smoke. Though.
You do.
You do have the right to smoke, right?
Yes,
but it's still bad, right? Yeah. But at the same time, I'm giving Leo love.
Yes, thank you.
The Red Bull I drank this morning. That was bad.
Exactly. It sped up your heart rate.
My diet soda is bad, right? Yeah. So. But nonetheless, but you're right. It is bad, but whose job is it to tell me that it's bad? Do I need you to, more bureaucrat, sitting up there with their little pencil and their phone, to writing out, coming up with ways on how to regulate me? Or do we say, American people, you take responsibility for your own life, right? Parents, you parent, right?
Right. Exactly.
Exactly. So thank you so much, Ellie. It's been enlightening, absolutely.
You are adorable.
And you can watch your videos online.
Yesterday, briefly in the bathroom.
Now, where can people find you and get more information?
On Twitter at ELLYSA_MAYE.
Okay, that's a whole lot. Say it again.
Okay. Twitter, ELLYSA_MAYE. And Facebook at facebook.com/RedRightTrue.
Red, right, and true. Yes.
Red, white,
right.
Right. R-I-G-H-T. Yes. We are always on the right side of the argument, on the conservative side of the aisle.
You are just too adorable. Thank you so much. I'm going to follow you. And when I do, you better follow me back.
I will. Absolutely. Thank you guys.
She'll follow you. She followed you into the bathroom yesterday. So
no, I
did not.
Follow you. No, I didn't. Actually, I think Ellie. Ellie came in when the woman was in the restroom washing my hand, and the woman was so nice, just a general participant at CPAC. She was so nice, so kind, just talking to me. And then she said, who are you voting for? I said, I'm with the media, and all conversation stopped, and she started going out the room. I was like, wait a minute, you can still talk to me just because of media. So it was just like a moment of comedy. Did she do that, Ellie?
Yeah.
She like did a hard left. Everything stopped.
She ran out.
Yeah, she didn't want to talk to me anymore.
I'm not scary, I swear. I'm on the right side.
All right, now we're being joined by Alex Malusky, running for the Senate seat in Arizona against John McCain, and our previous guest, Kelly Ward.
Dr. Kelly Ward was here earlier this morning,
yes.
But, I have to tell you, Alex, the moment I hear someone say they're running against John McCain, you're already on the upswing with me, and with most patriot, American-loving people. So, welcome.
Well, thank you very much for having me on. Mr. Rivera, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you, yes.
When did you guys see each other before?
I actually learned, and I was lucky enough to have a chance to interview Alex at Valley Voters Summit last year, and he gave me a lot of insight into what his campaign is all about, specifically regarding, and for people who are listening who maybe didn't see that interview, or for someone who basically doesn't know, why don't you tell us more about specifically the fair tax proposal and what it is that you're looking looking to do or push legislatively if you make it to obviously to DC?
Certainly, absolutely. Well, the bottom line is the easiest way to enforce immigration, to build the border, to make our military stronger, to bring back jobs into this country would be have an easier tax system. One that actually encourages job growth, one that eliminates income taxes like my fair tax does, and puts the control back into the hands of the people so they could save money, so they could spend money. It lowers the cost of education. It's a one-time tax at the cash register. But the bottom line is this puts the control back into the hands of the people, shrinks the size of the federal government, and makes the capitalist society of America grow at a tremendous rate. We once went from the number one corporate tax environment to the last of all the advanced nations.
Exactly, which is crazy. And it also is people should have a right to decide how much tax it is that they want to pay. And under this system, they actually get the opportunity to do that.
I mean, but is that practical for people to decide how much tax they want to pay?
Well, it's only at the cash register when they buy a new good or service. One-time tax. So what I'm saying is that instead of the federal government saying, oh, we're taking 25% of your income, and they take your FICA tax, which is Social Security and Medicare, no matter what.
Which I'm not even going to benefit from, probably.
Probably not. Well, under the fair tax,
Ellie
it
won't.
does make it sustainable. Well, first of all, Ellie is my secret weapon. That's how we win the race. Social media guru. You know it. That's why I'm so glad to have her on the team. And you should go check out her video that she did, 8 Reasons to Retire McCain. It's up on my Facebook page. It's on her YouTube page. It's hilarious. But it actually gets right to the point. It's a fun way of seeing why we need to replace John McCain, why we need to retire him. But can I quickly go over just a couple little numbers?
We'd love to hear it.
Your listeners will love to know about the race. 3 things that show the reason why I am the one who will be able to retire McCain, to take the seat back of the people of Arizona. Straw poll, grassroots straw poll, recently done. The most recent poll, straw poll. I got over 60%.
Wow.
McCain got nothing. Kelly got 16%.
Wow.
So that's in an area I did not even really campaign in. One speech in that whole area. Okay, the second reason, our opposition research shows that there is only, with the polling, there is only one candidate that can defeat both John McCain in the primary and also Ann Kirkpatrick. Actually, there's only one candidate that can defeat him, and there's only one candidate that can defeat her. You're looking at him, you're listening to him, me.
And why is that?
All the opposition shows that the intel on the other candidates, you will not like what you have to hear about them. John McCain also has 100% saturation, so he cannot change his numbers no matter what you do. You tell the people that John McCain has resurrected the dead and has healed the blind, done everything, a miracle worker. His numbers do not change from 33%. And I'm talking about even in a plurality race like we have now.
Yeah. You know what's nuts, and this cycle's been all about the outsiders and getting citizens back involved with the process and getting politicians out and getting people that have actually had to live under these laws. That's something that I remember from when I interviewed you the last time. You were stating, through your process of, being a small businessman, how you had lived under different tax code or different tax brackets rather, and had to deal with all this regulatory nonsense, trying to grow your business. And you really seem to get it as an outsider, and that's really what people have been looking for in this cycle. That's why I guess Trump has resignated, for Carly Fiorina, Ben Carson. Do you think that that's ultimately going to translate and be what pushes you to the Senate?
100%.
Yep.
And that's the reason. With our polling, it shows the people are sick and tired of those that do not play by the rules, the rule of law.
Yeah.
I mean, like even on the national level. I mean, Americans are speaking volumes on where they are, what they see, and what's going on.
Well, here's the thing. If you like the fact that Donald Trump cannot be bought and that he's a self-made man that is funding his campaign, well, then you'll like me. If you like the values of Ted Cruz, where he stands as a social conservative, as a fiscal conservative, then you are going to like me.
Let me ask you a question regarding unnecessary regulatory bodies and bureaucracies in Washington. Like, the way that EPA affects different state job creation with their restrictions and whatnot like that. Are you a proponent of getting rid of a lot of that unnecessary bureaucracy? Are you looking to do that as soon as you get in?
Look at that face.
As soon as possible. You can't
Yeah.
see me smiling, folks. The Environmental Protection Agency is a thorn in my side. It is a thorn in the side of the people here in my state. The regulations, let's talk about the Bureau of Land Management also. Let's talk about the Department of Education. All of these agencies are a power struggle, a power surge, a power pull from our federal government. We need to make sure our 10th Amendment is recognized. We need to return the power to the states. I want our land back. Arizona wants their land back. Who's going to be able to use our land better, know how to use our land, know how to regulate and have businesses take care of our land? Do you think the federal government knows better, or do you think Arizona knows better?
Exactly. You can't have people in D.C. making decisions for people remotely all around the country.
But I went to a breakout yesterday, and Senator Mike Lee of Utah was talking about the difference in the stack of legislation, the legislation that Congress passes, and versus the legislation that is passed and imposed upon American people by an unaccountable bureaucracy, EPA included, was 3 times that of what Congress actually passes. And so he was talking about that, how Congress has lost control of their primary job, which is to make law.
Yeah, it has, and a lot of it gets hit and stuck in the Senate, in the U.S. Senate. Mike Lee is a very good man. Mike Lee, I promised to work on his campaign if he was primaried. I told him I will bring my volunteers out. I will make phone calls for you. I will do it, and my volunteers if they want to. Fortunately, he was not really getting a serious primary because they knew better. They would not have a shot in heck against Mike. So I need him there. I need him there. There's not enough good men and women in the U.S. Senate that actually understand the rule of law, that stand up for the people. Our 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, all the way through the 12th Amendment rights, 13th and 14th even. There are flaws in our Constitution. We understand that.
Yeah, the 16th Amendment.
Well, there's another one right after it. 1913 was a horrific year. No thanks to Mr. Taft and President Wilson for implementing what was started. Need to reform a tax code. We need to consider returning more of the powers back to the states.
That's the one under the fair tax that gets repealed, right? The 16th Amendment.
Oh, yes. The fair tax bill, which folks, you can look it up. You can just put in H.R. 25 or S-155, which would be my bill. It repeals the 16th Amendment.
Say that again,
It's H.R. 25. Just spoke with Congressman Woodall the other day. He's a sponsor of that. And S-155 is what it's called in the Senate. But it's the fair tax bill. It actually has about 80, 90 co-sponsors in the House and Senate. It has movement.
Yeah.
And the chair of the House Ways and Means Committee, who just won his primary, Kevin Brady in Texas, he's the chair of the House Ways and Means Committee, and he is also a co-sponsor. So that bill will be heard, in all likelihood, in the House for the first time ever.
Wow, that's very exciting. Hopefully we can get to the point where we can make decisions regarding how much it is that we contribute. Really, it should be at our own will. I mean, this has been lost on us because government's gotten so big and powerful. People don't realize that things aren't as they should be and haven't been for about 100 years at least. So,
can I add something also?
Sure, of course.
If they did not interpret the Constitution in their own unique way and treat it as a living document, which it is not,
it is not.
we would not have the income tax as it is, because our founders put in there that we were allowed to collect excise taxes. That's a sales tax.
Yeah.
We were allowed to. Benjamin Franklin told Madison when they were discussing it, if we were ever to impose a tax on the people, it should not be upon the fruits of their labor, but upon their free will. This does that. This returns trillions and trillions of offshore jobs, offshore money to this country. 10 million new jobs the first year is the estimate.
Wow, that's amazing.
The jobs, the income levels would just skyrocket.
Yeah, if you mix that with deregulation and putting power back into the states to decide what they do with their land, I think that we'd come back very strong behind the energy revolution.
Absolutely.
Especially,
the states are the ones that are going to decide that. And you talk about the EPA. What is the safest, cleanest energy here in the United States of America?
Coal.
Nuclear.
Oh.
Nuclear.
Or nuclear, as George W. Bush would say.
Nuclear. It is. And we haven't built a new reactor in so many years.
Yeah.
But coal's fine, too.
Yeah, I have no problem with anthracite.
Coal is
Absolutely.
fine.
And these regulations are
Those windmills are doing nothing.
Yeah. They're just expensive.
Crazy.
They don't do anything.
And if you plug in your car, you're using coal to create the electric cord.
Exactly. Isn't that?
Wake up.
It's so illogic. It's circular illogic.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You know, well, hopefully what'll happen is, in my opinion, we'll get Cruz into the presidency when there's a vacuum for a brash senator to come in and start, attacking the establishment. Maybe that'll
But
be
you know
you,
what?
Mr.
I mean, but the
Maluski.
establishment is a formidable force, and
Yeah.
we have a whole Congress there now that is Republican based, and they say, get us in, we will do what we're supposed to do. They get in, and they get sucked up.
People are a much more powerful force.
Exactly.
And you ask anybody that knows me to ask if there's any flip in me.
Good.
My voice, my power comes from we the people.
Yes,
Good.
sir.
Well, thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
coming.
Alex, nice
Yes.
talking to you again.
Great
And
talking to you again.
And good luck to you on the campaign trail. We'll see how it all shakes out, and hopefully we'll be in contact. Maybe we can get you on the Truth Exchange or Conservative Weekend and Friends in the future.
would
How
love
can
it.
people get you?
They can get me by going to Meluskey.com. That's MELUSKEY.com. Next time we come on, I want to talk about my veterans contract with the veterans and their family. I'm the only one in the United States.
Now you should
who
have
has-
led with that. You're talking to two veterans.
Yes,
Yeah,
you are.
that's a
Well,
good one.
read this when you get a chance.
I
I will
will.
leave you extra copies. The bottom line is I'm the only person running for a federal position that has this kind of contract that has made this commitment, and I am made this commitment to fight for it until the day I die. Win, lose, draw, it does not matter. You are that important to me.
Yeah.
You should
Thank
not
you
be
so
fighting.
much.
It's my job.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. Guys, we've just been talking to Alex Malusky. He is running for against John McCain. So exciting. Right now, oh my goodness, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have Ed Morrissey.
Morrissey, right?
Yes, I pronounced it right. Yes, I have followed you for a very long time. You don't know yet. I'm almost a stalker, not quite, but it's like,
Well, you must be the nicest stalker in the world.
well, good. But no, I'm so excited that you came by our table. How are you enjoying CPAC?
I am enjoying it immensely. You know, I've had a chance to do a lot more interaction with the other media here. You know, normally I have this sort of reputation as a guy who just flips open his laptop and his head's stuck down in it for the whole CPAC conference. But this time I've had a chance to get around and talk to a lot of people. So this is one of the most fun CPACs I've ever had.
Yeah, I know. So how many times have you been?
I've been here every year but one since the 2005 CPAC. So that would be what, I think this is my 12th or my
Wow,
11th.
yeah, this is my first year.
Oh, really?
I mean, it is my first
great.
year.
Yes, that's
and
awesome.
and to your point, I mean, you know, sometimes you can feel so alone as a conservative out there. It's like, oh my
Yes.
God, I'm like surrounded by a bunch of lunatics out here. And then to come to a place like this and to meet other people, to network with those who are really doing something, that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the value of CPAC and the other conferences as well, right? Is to get together and gather strength from each other.
Okay, let's talk about your book here. Going Red, the 2 million voters who will elect the next president and how conservatives can win them. What are you talking about?
Well, what I did was I took a look at the states that Republicans lost after having won in 2004. These are the swing states, the purple states that we talk about. Florida, Ohio, obviously, Virginia, North Carolina, New Hampshire, Colorado, and Wisconsin, which Republicans haven't won, but I think they can win. And what I take a look at is, why did Republicans lose in 2008 and 2012, even though these states have Republican legislatures and in most cases Republican governors, but they can't win in presidential elections, at least they haven't the last two elections. And so what I've done here is I've looked at what went wrong and what Republicans have to do and conservatives have to do to expand their reach in these 7 key counties. So I picked one county in each state that's sort of the bellwether county. And
what did you find?
Well, what I found was that Republicans have relied on national messaging that doesn't work. It doesn't resonate with people.
You think it's not specified enough for each individual location?
Absolutely, that's exactly the problem. Is that people come in and they hear, and there's a real big contrast here. Republicans would come in with the same 30,000-foot message in each of these communities that they were selling every place else. You know, and usually conceptual. You know, free markets, liberty.
Yeah.
You know, small
And what's
government.
wrong with that?
There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that, but you have to make it relevant to the communities that you're talking to. So, for instance, if you want to talk about regulation, you can talk about. If you go to Hamilton County, Ohio, and this is actually not an example that's in the book, but it's a good way of expressing this. Hamilton County, Ohio is under an edict from the EPA to separate their storm drains from their sewage systems. And this sounds really arcane, but it's going to be extremely expensive for the city of Cincinnati, and the people who are part of their metropolitan water district are paying hundreds of dollars a year because of this plan. This is a typical plan that it's actually not a bad idea to separate those two systems, because you can do reclamation easier with the storm drains, and the EPA has made this a standard for all these different cities. Well, the city of Cincinnati came up with a plan that the EPA approved, and then they found out they could do the same thing and achieve the same objectives with a different plan that saved 40% of the cost. And the EPA refused to reopen it.
Right.
Oh, wow.
So people in the city of Cincinnati are going to pay hundreds of dollars every year to the Metropolitan Water District to cover the additional cost of a plan that is inefficient. And if you want to come into Cincinnati and talk about overregulation and the EPA encroaching on people's liberties,
Now you have a captive audience.
yeah, you have a captive audience, because people in Cincinnati go, yeah, my bill went up.
Are you
What
telling
is-"
people this?
I
You wrote a
am.
book about it.
I am. Although the Metropolitan Water District example didn't come to me.
But the strategy of it all, right?
Exactly.
Because when you have things like change.org and all these, I mean, like, they're very grassroots, they're very liberal, but they're out there on the streets, and they're the Occupy movement. They come to where people are.
Yes.
They pull them in. They make them feel as though they're a part of America, part of the plan, part of the solution, part of the movement, right? And that's much more personable, especially in our culture today, where everyone feels as though their voice is just as important as anyone else's voice, right?
Right, and the Barack Obama campaign was brilliant at doing this.
Yes.
You know, people talk about the Facebook strategy. Republicans got this idea that the Facebook strategy was just to go on Facebook and friend a bunch of people,
posts.
right? Put some posts up. They were identifying people in each of these neighborhoods that they considered key in these key counties, these communities, these swing states, and they would align themselves with them. They'd send people out to talk about what are your issues, and what's going on in your neighborhood that bothers you, and then they would craft a message specific to these little sub-communities, right? The counties.
It's almost targeted marketing. What's important to you?
It's
you know?
exactly what it is. It's
But
targeted
for
marketing.
political, but in the political sphere of things, right? Which we don't really see, because we do. I think about this all the time. Now you've written a book, so I don't need to do that anymore. I can move on, put my time somewhere else.
Yes.
But I love this concept because I think about it so much. What we talk about, what we espouse as conservatives, it's logical.
Yes.
It's fact based. I can look. I'm a history buff. You can look all throughout the times of history, and you can see that what we have is unique and special, and it's the reason why we're so great. And yet you try to go and communicate, but when we try to communicate that, people don't see it. They see something completely different.
Yes.
And it's the marketing, it's the target marketing.
It's also the fact that Republicans tend to write off large blocks of voters.
Like the black votes?
This is a big topic in Going Red. The fact that the Republicans write off that community, and it leaves them between a party that won't talk to them and a party that ignores them.
Did you hear what Michelle Obama recently said on TV One, which is a predominantly black television station? She said, we need to teach our young people to vote Democrats. She goes on to say, it does not matter who's on that ballot. Doesn't matter what they say or what they do.
Vote
you
Democrat.
just vote Democrat.
do what
And
you're
I
told.
just turned red because I'm thinking this is the slave. It's a slave plantation mentality, and it reminded me that all of the overseers on those plantations were not white. They had black drivers. They called them the overseers that were black were called drivers, and it was their job to keep the slaves in their place. Nobody don't care about your opinion. We don't care what you have to say. No one has to woo you to get your vote. You just stay on that plantation.
Yes.
But
But Republicans enable that because Republicans don't go to those communities and don't give them an option. And you take an authentic conservative message, especially economic conservatism, to African American communities, and it will resonate. I talked to I don't know if you know Pudgy Miller in North Carolina. He's talked to Sonny Johnson at Bright Park.
Yes.
Everybody knows Sonny. Sonny's wonderful.
Sonny is Sonny.
Sonny is Sonny. And she talks about this, and Pudgy talked about this, and I talked with other people in the Raleigh, North Carolina African American conservative community, and they're saying, nobody shows up. Nobody comes to talk to us. How do you expect people to want to vote for you? And it's a moral failing of the Republican Party because it leaves them with no option. It leaves those voters with no option. They're trapped. So, yes, Michelle Obama is talking using a plantation mentality by saying, just vote Democrat, doesn't matter who's on the ticket, just vote Democrat. But Republicans aren't even showing up So they're enabling it. And that's part of what I talk about there. And not just with the African American community, but with millennials, with the Hispanic community. Republicans don't engage effectively in those communities.
And why is it? Because we're just so arrogant? Like,
no.
I'm right, so
I think it's
I don't need to say anything?
It's almost like a financial calculation. They don't feel that they'll get a short-term return, so they don't invest. But the problem is that you will never get a return. You will never get a return until you start investing.
And when they do invest, it's typically, especially in the black community, it's like, oh, we'll just throw some money here, throw some money here, throw some money there. It's never really strategic and pinpoint and targeting. It's just, we feel a little obligated to throw some money into the black community, so let's just throw a little money here or there.
The one thing I point out, too, is it tends to feel a little anthropological, as though they're kind of coming into a community to just sort of calculate what the community is, rather than being part of the community
and making people feel
like they're a part of our community.
People in today's culture, it's really interesting when you go back in time and you look at what people thought their opinion mattered back then. It was very low, and today it's a very high number of people that believe, because it's all about it's a me-centric society, and people want to feel involved, right?
Yes.
And so I love that strategy.
It's
so simple.
It's fascinating to write, and I got to give huge credit to Pudgy Miller and Sonny Johnson, because they really did change the direction of the book a bit. When I got to them early on in my research on it, and I was going to talk about this, but they just made it crystal clear what the issues were.
Do you think it really boils down to just a couple of targeted areas would make that huge of a difference?
Well, what this does, it's not just that these people are the only ones that are going to be the difference. If you're winning in Hamilton County, Ohio, you're going to do pretty well in other economically stressed areas, economically stressed communities, because you're showing that you can do that. If you're winning in Raleigh, if you're winning in Wake County, it means that you've engaged African American voters to some extent. Maybe you're not going to win that community in the first election that you try this with. But, Pat McCrory was there, and he won, I think, 4% of the African American vote when he lost his first shot at the governor's office. He won 14% in his last re-election.
So it's the consistencies in those areas.
But that's with any and everything, right? And that's the reason why I said what I do tend to see with those in the Republican establishment determining where they're going to put their money and their effort in the African American community. They come up with these African American initiative. They always call it African American initiative, and then they just kind of throw a little money here, throw a little money there, and then they just kind of see, but they don't have a real expectation. There's not a real sense of hope of bringing anyone in. It's more of an obligation.
Right, and to some extent, that's still somewhat the analysis that a few people that I talk to have of that. That's the perspective that they have on it. But there's a lot of people who are saying it's actually improving. And you'd be surprised, and I cover this in the book, Going Red, that the RNC has listened to that, that whole autopsy, the growth opportunity project that they did after the 2012 election. They've actually put some things in place that actually addresses these issues. Now, you're not going to win 40% of the African American vote in 2016. You're just not. We haven't been. There's no reason to trust us that much. But you might start if you actually honestly and sincerely engage. And what I mean by engaging, and this is clear in the book too, is not by sitting down with you and saying, okay, this is what you need to believe. This is what you need to do. This is who you need to be. No, by honestly engaging, I'm saying, tell me who you are. Tell me what your concerns are. And hey, look, we may not agree on every single issue, but I will listen to you, and I will try to tell you how we can help you rather than how you can be like us. And that's what Obama did. And that is what the Republican Party needs to learn. And there's examples of people who have actually been able to do that, Pat McCrory being one of them. Florida State Representative in Tampa, named Sean Harrison, talks about this very clearly, about the fact that I didn't need to tell them that I would agree with every single thing that I said. I just needed to tell them I'm willing to listen to you, and even when we disagree, I respect your opinion. And if I get elected, I owe you, and I expect you to come down to my office and say, you owe us, and here's what you need to do to deliver it, and I'm going to try to do it for you.
Yeah.
That is what
Becoming
engagement
personable.
is.
Yeah,
Becoming
yeah.
personable, making those personal connections. That's what the book is about.
Right.
That's awesome, man. I think
This
that's
is
what
good.
people
I think
really
this
need
is gonna be the
to
only book
do.
I'm gonna buy. While I'm here,
It
I
comes
said
out on
that.
April 12th.
Okay,
so
yeah, it's funny. It's interesting. I've never seen this before. This is uncorrected
sale.
proof, not for sale. I feel like I've got like access to secret info
It
here.
is secret
It's mine.
information.
We're fighting over it here. No, but that's actually very interesting. I'd like to see if people make more an investment. Me personally, and it's not because I'm a Latino or anything, but statistics show that in 20 to 30 years, we're going to be the majority.
Yes.
So how are Republicans what are Republicans gonna do to bring us under that tent, or work to the point conservative?
Because right now
Right.
the Democrats are just throwing a lot of money into the community, saying a lot of, we're going to take care of you, we're going to give you a lot of free stuff. Just come.
It's pandering,
I mean,
though.
like,
It's pandering
yes.
by group,
It's
by
the
group,
same
by
thing
race.
they did to the
Yeah.
black community,
Exactly,
right? We just
yeah.
want to bring you in, but with money. And you're saying, I mean, we need Republicans have an opportunity to come in, being more personable, telling truth, but being more personal, building
Yes.
a relationship.
Yes, build
Not
the
on
relationships.
pandering.
A long-term thing,
Relationships
yeah.
is a long-term thing. You have to keep at it, keep at it, keep at it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for
Well,
coming.
thank you for
I
having
appreciate
me.
it. Are
Great
you sure
talking
I
to you.
can't have that and have you to sign it? One of your best friends? Well, I will be.
Oh,
No, I do. I do follow
you
your
stole
blog.
you
It's
stole
really
that.
good.
I was gonna do that. No, I'm just
Is it Kathy?
Kathy with a K.
With a K,
Barnett.
kidding. Yes.
You never know. I hear Kathy, but you never know. if
Yeah,
it's
we had
her soon, so-
yeah. Sometimes people have an I. Sometimes people have a EY. Have you ever seen that EY?
Yes,
Yes.
I have. All crazy.
I don't know
I
what
spell
that
it the
is.
only proper way.
Exactly, because you're so proper.
Yes.
you're not
now-
politically correct,
So now
though.
you can follow me back on Twitter.
Yes, I will. Tweet me so I see it.
Thank you so much,
Don't just
Ed, for
stalk
coming.
me.
I
Don't
know.
just stalk me.
It's a nice stalking of just
It is a nice
information
stalking.
because it's I mean like I'm coming from where I came from. It's not a lot of I'm the only one in my family. I'm the only one among my friends. Very intelligent people, and yet I find myself to be the only one. So my journey of coming to this place where I am has just been finding people with wisdom and just kind of leaning in. I taught economics in Chicago, and I would tell my students, you don't have to be a subject matter expert on all things finance. Find someone who's really good and you trust them because you follow them enough time, and then just do whatever they tell you to do. I mean, if you don't want to become a subject matter expert at it, just find someone you trust, vet them out, and then do what they tell you. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You take care.
Very enlightening, sir. Thank you.
Yes, you guys need to go out and get that book. Well, it's not available yet. It's coming out when again?
It's coming out April 12th, and you can find out more at goingredbook.com.
Of course, I have the first copy.
Yes, that's a special edition right there.
What'd you
That's going to
say?
be
I
worth
said
it.
enjoy it.
I am going to enjoy it. Thank you so much, Ed. Yes, that was Ed Morrissey, guys. Go out there, find
Yeah,
him.
he's fantastic. I learned so much here talking about that, because you know what? It is very important that we pinpoint a way to take those minority communities
We gotta
and
get
enlighten
strategic.
them. Strategic, yeah, because you know what? The Democrats have no problem going into those communities and organizing, but they're going in there and they're spelling, they're lying.
Change.org.
Yeah, why not go into those communities and actually bring people the truth? Let them know exactly what's going on and make a difference in bringing those communities into under our tent, because they've been lied to for so long. They're disenfranchised because of these progressive policies, but they keep shooting themselves in the foot, electing these same officials that are doing it to them. It's insane.
It is, and yet they continue to do it time and time and time and time again.
Yes, and we are so lucky to be joined by a man who I am a huge fan of, John Hawkins, Right Wing News. Sharp opinions. I always share your tweets. I share your stories. You know what? Basically, yesterday was huge. I didn't get an opportunity to watch all of it. I want to know what your impressions are of the debate from last night, because CPAC is really getting started. Yesterday was the calm before the storm. The Hatfields weren't here. The McCoys weren't here yet. Everybody was talking policy and issues, but not so much the presidential election. What did you see last night, and what are your impressions?
I have to tell you, watching Trump last night, even if you love the guy, anybody who doesn't love him enough to forgive all those unforgivable problems with him is going to look at that and say he was horrible. He came across like a con man when they're talking about Trump, Trump University. And I have to tell you this too: when he's saying he's going to force our soldiers to commit war crimes, I mean, listen. There's 100 things. Like if I went with Hillary Clinton and we talked about issues, we would disagree probably on 100 out of 100 controversial issues. She's not going to force our troops to commit war crimes. You could probably trust her with nuclear weapons. That's the bar we're trying to get over with Trump now.
Oh, God.
So it's, I mean, really, I'm just saying.
Oh, no.
That's what I'm saying.
Not even the basics.
You know what? But here's the thing, though. With Trump, yes, he, and I've said it so many times, I'm going to continue to say it. He has fabulous headlines, right? Not a whole lot of substance underneath those headlines, but fabulous headlines that is speaking to the anger that the overwhelming majority of Americans are feeling, right? Most of us are in our feelings, right now. We're all about our emotions, and that emotion is anger. And he has tap danced all over it. And that's the reason why I believe he's getting such support from the American population. However, now when he says he's committing war crimes, I like the fact, and I am not a Trumper, but I like the fact that he starts out in the right place. When he gets in office, he will have the right people all around that will bring him back down to some sense of sanity, right?
You would think. I don't know.
Versus Hillary with Benghazi, and we see that, right? She went home, she want to have soda and relax and sip some juice. I don't know what she did, but while and being a veteran, while American soldiers were out there calling and begging for assistance, she showed very little. She showed very little regard, and then cowered out the next day on the Sunday circuit by sending Rice to go in and do
and lie, which she knew they were lying from the beginning.
Come up with some little nobody in California with a video, right, and try to push that.
I agree with every single thing you just said about Hillary.
Trump starting off way up here in la ridiculous land, bringing it down. He'll come down. Versus Hillary starting way over here in the dungeons of depravity and thinking she's going to somehow move up to normal. I don't think so.
I guess what I'm saying is,
I think my bet is on Trump.
There's a saying my dad used to have, and he's like, one rat turd spoils a gallon of ice cream.
Wow, yeah.
Well, this guy is sprinkled with these things like chocolate chips.
Yeah.
And if you love him, you're like, man, I love
Hillary?
ice cream.
Yes. What's Hillary? Diarrhea?
Hillary's horrible. There's nothing good you can say about Hillary, but I guess we're getting
okay, John. So now we're back in.
I don't want to have to deal with either of them. That's my point.
To the point where you got to say, all right, if he's getting into an election, I mean, let's take it like this. Is he going to be able to win an election? And I know he thinks he is, but I could give you so many reasons, even setting aside, how many Republicans are going to defect from this guy? I'm thinking it's going to be enormous.
Yeah, he doesn't do well in national polls against Hillary. He loses to Hillary.
He loses 80%
on my very principled social media, I have a number of people saying, I will not vote for Trump.
There are at least, to the best of my knowledge, at least 3 sitting members of Congress, 2 House members, 1 senator, who are all saying they're not voting for him already. Those numbers are only going up, and I mean, I've never even heard of that in my lifetime.
But how can we win? I mean, because it's so much bigger than Trump. I think sometimes we're so myopic, and we're just focused on that little bitty piece of lint on someone's coat, right? Or that little piece of stuff that came out on Cruz's lip while he was talking. We just get so zoomed in on the myopics of life, right? Versus the bigger picture, right? Of where our country is, what will happen if Hillary gets in, and the fact that we don't want Hillary nor Bernie anywhere close to that presidency, how much farther off the cliff we're going to fall. But we lose that because we're so like, I'm a Trumper, I'm a Cruiser, I'm a Rubioian. And
Rubioian. I like that.
That was a thing.
Like Marco Mentum, Rubioian, all these new terms.
I make it up as I go. But nonetheless, we just get so caught up and we forget, no, I'm an American and I'm a patriot and I'm a conservative, I'm more of a constitutional. And yes, I have to make some bends and turns in the road sometimes because as I can't even think of his name. James Madison said, "We are. If men were angels, there would be no need for a government. We're not angels."
Right? Well, let me put it this way: I am not one of these people who says I'll never vote for Trump. I have too many friends that do who are supporters of his, so I respect them. I'm not going to go out and tell people not to vote for him. I'm not going to say I'm not going to vote for him. I don't criticize people for voting for him or for endorsing any of that stuff. That being said, I think you have to look at this whole thing and say, there are enough people out there who say they're not going to vote for him, just that one, because I could give you a half dozen reasons he's not going to win. There are enough Republicans who are openly, and I don't think they're going to change their mind, who are saying they're not going to vote for him to ensure he can't win. So if he does win the nomination, we're going to spend, it's going to be doomed. I mean, from day one, we're losing the Senate, Hillary wins if he becomes the nominee. Now, there's still time to change that. I'm saying even if you love him, I think you almost have to accept there's enough people out there who just hate his guts on the Republican side that he can't be elected.
Does he have enough people out there who just absolutely love him that will get him in?
I could give you an extensive case he can't win because under normal circumstances, nobody would even consider him a decent candidate. He's got a favorable unfavorable rating of 3458. That's the same as Jimmy Carter.
Yeah,
Jimmy
right
Carter,
before a landslide loss, right?
Worse than Walter Mondale. 2 worst losses in history. His numbers are worse. I think Bill Cosby's unfavorable rating is 62. The face of date rape in America and Donald Trump are not separated by that much.
Well, he did the same thing under marriage, though, right? Wasn't that the whole story with Trump?
Well, yeah, and I guess the problem all it is like, he can win a Republican primary because Republicans like him better than the general public. Independents hate his guts. And I know everybody thinks all these Democrats are going to cross over. Most Democrats hate his guts. He's going to inspire all these groups that they want to turn out for them. I mean, he doesn't even know how he's going to finance his campaign. I know people think he's going to pay his way. Now he's saying he's going to get donors for the general.
Of course. The man who couldn't be bought is now soliciting donations. What an irony.
Well, he doesn't have enough money to do it himself. But you know what? He's starting from too far behind. He doesn't have the money to do it. He loses to Hillary Clinton already. I mean, if there were election today, Hillary Clinton would beat him.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
And now, did I hear? I mean, do you know how many? Because they were talking about it last night, and I didn't pick up on the actual number. Another. I guess in the corner of Trump is that they're saying he's pulling voters from the Democratic Party. Do you know how large that is? I think they were like, I don't know if it was 3 million or I can't
Well, they're saying
remember.
he's pulling some voters, but I mean, he's still losing head to head against Hillary. So however many, I mean, there's always some. Like if you look at Mitt Romney versus Obama or McCain versus Obama, they each polled like 7 or 8% of the other side. Like 8% of Democrats, I can't vote for Obama and vote for McCain or Romney, and vice versa, Republicans. I don't know why that is. It seems weird.
Yeah.
How many people are going to say, hey, I don't like Mitt Romney if you're a Republican and you like Obama? It seems like a weird choice, but I'm guessing with Trump, that number, I wouldn't be shocked if it, just looking at historical rates, like with McGovern, who was considered a wacko by the left. Back then, 32% of Democrats defected to Nixon. During the Perot election, 27% of Republicans went to Perot. I don't think it's impossible that you could see 20 to 30% of Republicans vote Hillary.
Yeah. Oh, that would be a scary proposition.
And then you start talking about how many people stay home or just don't write in, Ronald Reagan or whatever you write in. I don't know what they write in.
Yeah, Nancy Reagan.
I'm not saying that's great. I'm just saying that's realistically where we're at. Even if you love the guy, you have to almost acknowledge and say, hey, there's a lot of people who are opposed to him in a way that they're not opposed to the other candidates. I think it'll make it very difficult for him.
But let's say in all likelihood this trend of Trump continues, he gets the nomination.
I think the day he gets the nomination, it's over. I mean, I'm saying barring Hillary might be able to beat him if she gets indicted, but if she doesn't get indicted, if she gets indicted, or let's say a third party candidate comes in, that's
I don't think
what
her
it will
people
take.
care.
They don't. That's why I'm saying she might be. David Duke lost to a crook in Louisiana. I don't think it's absolutely impossible that she could she might be able to get indicted and beat him. No, nobody else.
Wow.
She would lose to everybody
That's a sad
else
state of affairs.
And it is a sad
She's not
commentary.
popular, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, she's horrible.
Vote for Gary Johnson.
Just to give you an example, her favorable, unfavorable for Trump is 3458. Hillary, 4250. Now that's horrible. 4250 is death for a politician, and she's beating Trump by 10 points. She's killing him.
Wow.
So it's just amazing.
We have a lot to be prayerful for, to be thoughtful of.
Yeah, we got to wrap up here, but one last thing I have want to ask John right before he leaves. When does Rubio and or Kasich drop out of the race?
Here's the sad thing. Both of these guys are now hoping to take it to a brokered convention, which would be a nightmare.
Yes.
It would be an absolute, the whole idea what they want to do is take it to a broker convention where they probably come in third or fourth or something, and they somehow get the nomination because they get the party machinery to give it to them. We wouldn't win that either.
Let me ask you a question. If it did go to a brokered, or what's your thoughts on that? If Trump can't get to 1237, would you be in favor of maybe, even if it was Cruz, who I know you're favorable towards? You haven't endorsed him, I don't think necessarily.
I did. Actually.
You did actually endorse him. Okay, yeah.
Cruz.
So
Cruz, I love Cruz.
Cruz or like let's say it becomes a Cruz Rubio getting their delegates together. And let's say that combines to get to 1237 and it's more than Trump. Would you be in favor of that, even though it kind of, in a sense, is a backwards kind of establishment way of stealing it?
That would probably be almost the only way you could conceivably make a case for it.
And then what happens when Trump goes
right
into the third party, and now we lose again because he's going to take a significant
Do you think
loss.
we necessarily lose? Because I've always thought it doesn't necessarily hand it to Hillary. I think he may take from Hillary, and it may help the conservative people. You think so?
I think that's the only conceivable case you could make for it would be if they combine, but they rarely won't even do that. They'll probably come out and say, well, we've got the votes now, let's put Jeb or Mitt in there, or they do some, or Rubio or something. That's really because they really don't want Cruz either. If the establishment in the Republican Party were willing to say, all right, listen, realistically, Rubio, you can't win this. You're mathematically eliminated. Kasich, you're out. We're going to back Cruz. Cruz could beat him one-on-one. It's possible.
I think they could if they ran off, if there was that sort of a scenario. Put some money into it. Yeah.
They would rather lose with Trump than win with Cruz, and I'll tell you why. Because Trump rents the party for a few months, and then he's gone, and they stay in place. Cruz will win the presidency, and Cruz will actually change things. A lot of these consultants will go out. A lot of these donors will not have the same influence.
Oh my goodness! You know what? I just had this scary thought.
Yeah.
That maybe the Republican establishment doesn't care and would prefer for Hillary to win versus Trump or Cruz because those two, because they want their power. Power is more important than the American
I think
big
it
picture.
is.
Oh
Just
my
keep
goodness,
in mind,
that's so scary. I just had that thought.
Mitch McConnell is already out there publicly telling senators, listen, if Trump's a nominee, we're losing from day one. It's over. You can run ads distancing yourself from him. I mean, this is what the Senate Majority Leader is saying. So that is their assumption. Their assumption is he has zero chance. Why are they not making a move to get Rubio out of the race?
It is just coalescing right now in my mind. Listening to what you're saying, and it just kind of, that is so scary.
It's true, though. If you look at how look at the whole thing.
That's
we got
exactly
going
how
on.
they're behaving.
Yeah. Look at, why is Rubio still in the race? Why is Kasich still? They can't win this thing. They're done. They're out. Rubio has won one state. He's on track to lose his home state. Kasich,
that's the most pathetic thing. He's losing huge there, at least about 16 to 20 points.
It's funny. That's another little side note. Everybody thinks Trump's so rich. He's not putting that much money in the campaign. He said, well, Rubio might win Florida. They're saying he's going to put $25 million in. So why don't you put $25 million in? That's what a real race is like. Nah, he's not going to put his own money in. He would.
The amount of money Trump has spent on advertising was like $300,000. Relative, at one point when I was looking at it, relative to some of the others, $25 million.
I think his campaign so far total has spent like $17 million. Of that, I think he's only spent personally. He's only given his campaign $250,000.
Yeah.
Now he's loaned his campaign more money, which he can get paid
back
in
to donations. Yeah,
so
which
he's
is
really
nuts.
put in about $250,000 of real money in his campaign.
Exactly. Yeah, he's a smart businessman. Thank you so much, John, for being on.
It's probably a little depressing for your listeners.
Oh my goodness! But somehow I needed you to continue to talk to get me from where I was of just wondering why are they not coming behind coming behind one Cruz or Trump? Why do you have the establishment going? And it just hit me as you were talking. They want them to lose. They would prefer Hillary, thinking.
They stay in power. Status quo, exactly.
Continues. That's so scary.
It's scary. It's terrible, but that's where we're at.
God.
Keep grabbing from the cookie jar with both hands, which is basically what's going on in
Guys,
D.C.
you've been listening to Kathy Barnette with Truth Exchange and
Julio Rivera, Conservative Rican and Friends. Thank you for
WAAR Radio.
WAAR Radio, continuing coverage of CPAC 2016. Live coverage. Thank you.
God bless.
God bless.
I did not mean to depress you. I did not want to depress you.
You're with Andrew's organization?
Did you?
Andrew We Are America Radio, yes.
Okay. I was just on his show. And what is the difference between his show and your show as far as your audience or your topics and so forth like that?
I mean, we're a conservative show. We're basically just conservative politics the same way. I think his is a little bit more slanted, or probably towards like looking more for like, I guess, I don't know. I think his is more like a Christian show.
What are your interests?
Oh, just conservative politics. It's just economics, policy, immigration, all those sorts of things.
I'm a Democrat, and I created the website Obamacare Hurts Seniors.
Oh, awesome. That's awesome. You know what? Actually, is your email or questions? You know what? Actually, my podcast is on Wednesdays. I can get. Would you be able to Skype into the show one day?
I don't know how to Skype. I'm an old guy.
Will you call in? Call in.
I can call in.
Yeah, we'll hook that up at some point.
Here's
Yeah.
my phone number. You can call me. Call me a day ahead to remind me. Okay?
Yeah, definitely. I'll do that.
Give me your
Julio
card.
Rivera.
Give me your card.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm like, where's my mind? I'm like all over the place. We just got
I
literally
thought
home.
since I was here and you're here, I thought it might be convenient.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, thank you.
No
very
problem.
much.
Yeah, the sad thing is Republicans have let all this stuff go on in schools. Hey, listen, we can just see them the first 22 years of their life, and then we can come back later and get things like that. Yeah, it's just very difficult. Yeah. I had to take mine out while I was going through security.
Yes.
We're here somewhere.
Do you think you would have room for someone like me on with you talking?
Hey, what's up, brother?
Do you have a show, right?
Good. I'm just trying to get to where I was here.
A
Hold on a second.
website.
Huge website.
Do you? Hi.
How you doing?
Where did the media come from?
I do a ton of radio as a guest.
But yeah, I think I've seen you somewhere.
You probably have. I do a lot of radio.
Yeah, I'm all about talent.
Yeah, I do write columns for Town Hall and lightning news.
So maybe it's your articles that I see.
We're everywhere. If you're on Facebook, we've seen your stuff.
Awesome.
We have three.
And they got you through security with this?
Oh yeah, they're like, what are you gonna do? You like ninja stars.
They're the one card people are going to keep at the conference. If they keep one, they do that one.
Yes. Okay, I know. This is really nice. You don't want to throw it away.
Very good to meet you.
Likewise.
Let me get a shot with you, man. I really am.
Can I?
Yeah, get in.
Okay, if this is
Yeah.
Oh, no, we definitely. Just got pretty to see.
we can maneuver it.
Man. One more. We gotta get.
Okay, that would be fantastic.
That's going.
Whichever one you want, send that out.
Yes, sir. I will tag you.
Yes.
I'll tag you too.
Dude. We'll be friends. Good. John Hawkins.
Yes.
I've got about 50 slots left.
Guys, you're filling up fast.
I do. I mean, it's about 50 slots.
Oh, wow. That must be nice.
I still got 2,500.
Yeah, you know what? I think that's
I'm
what
not
it
that
is.
popular.
I just...
People don't like me.
Yeah.
That's good.
With his hand on the globe.
That's Twitter, isn't it?
Yeah, Facebook. I know Facebook has a new.
Oh yeah, I guess it is my thing.
Yes. See, I've seen.
By the
you
way,
all over the
look
place.
at that one.
Look
That's
that.
it's my Christmas card. It's me in the jet with Trump.
Oh,
that was, you know what? I missed it. That was my big line that I was going to say. You're the only person to ever board Trump's plane and leave
How did you
his
get
soul.
on?
I missed that.
Oh, it was Myrtle Beach Tea Party convention. Right when he was just about to, we was just getting in, and he had invited the press on his jet. 737, so we go to the airport, go through, go on. Nice guy, very gracious in person.
Yes, I like him as an individual, as an entertainer, as a a fellow citizen.
I think he's great, doing like this on TV.
Yes, and making lots of money and just being a good old American.
He's President Kardashian.
pretty scary. The idea of him being white is very scary.
Yeah, but what scares me is Hillary or Bernie being, I know Bernie doesn't have a chance, but Hillary being in the White House. But now I'm going to have to really give some serious consideration. Sometimes it just takes a minute to get to that point because you don't want to think, I've become such a paranoid person. I don't know if it's because of my age or, or just because I'm just more aware of things now. But what do you call it when you have, where you're always thinking the government is doing some kind of subversive tactic? There's a term that I can't think of right now.
Paranoid?
Well,
I thought you had a black helicopter crash.
Yeah, I have no idea. But nonetheless, but you don't want to think that. I want to think the better.